We went mamping.
Mamping.
Because we were trying to up our man levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
trying to
man camping.
We were trying to go man camping.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Bod by Anth podcast, where it's my job to interview health and wellness experts from all over the place: sports performance, sports medicine, nutrition, you name it. On today's episode, the inaugural episode, I interviewed not one but two awesome fitness experts, Ty Fischer and Casey Haines. I've known Ty since forever, middle school, elementary school. It's been a while. But he and I started doing CrossFit together in 2010. We got our level 1 certificate together at CrossFit King of Prussia in 2011, and we've been coaching ever since. Ty currently coaches at CrossFit Explode and is an OPEX coach at OPEX Upper Main Line. Ty has an awesome history of being a CrossFit Games competitor. Now, one, not two, but 3 appearances at the CrossFit Games. And thankfully, he's introduced me to our other guest, Casey Haines. Casey is a badass. The dude snatches as much as Matt Frazier. He's been in the NPGL, and he owns CrossFit Chad's Ford. In this conversation, we talk about all sorts of stuff, mostly fitness related. At the beginning, we talk about some fun stuff like manping. Guess you have to listen to find out what that actually is. But I really enjoyed my conversation with both of these guys. You can check out the show notes to this episode at bodbyanth.com/Casey and Ty. That's CASEYANDTY. If you want to check out their podcast, go to YouTube and check out the Casey and Ty Show. Hopefully you enjoy this episode as much as I did.
It was cool.
It wasn't cool at all, dude. So we pulled up into... I don't even know what the name of the place was.
It was Glen Burnie.
Okay.
I think it's Glen Burnie Park in like middle
It's
of
up in the
Pennsylvania.
Poconos somewhere.
Or Jim Thorpe, not Glen Burnie.
Jim Thorpe.
Jim Thorpe.
And we parked in this lot, and we went to Subway, which was across the street, and we ate at Subway. And then we just walked out of Subway, like almost directly onto this trail. And
hiking trail.
Yeah, like a hiking trail, and just kept going. But later on that night, I was telling them we got hungry and we didn't have any food or anything. And so,
Yeah.
so Brian...
We were in the woods at this point. We were like pretty deep in the woods too at this point.
Oh yeah, we
probably hiked a good 10 miles or so. We went pretty far.
I don't know if we made
Did you have a map or a compass?
Yeah, Brian had it on his phone. He had
Oh
that
yeah,
GPS on his phone.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I hope his phone didn't die.
No,
Yeah,
we were good.
no.
No, it was probably like, by the time we started, probably started around like noonish, and hiked for like 5 or 6 hours. I don't know. But, on the way up, we got in a waterfall. That was cool.
Oh yeah, that was cool. There was a huge waterfall. I forget. I'm pretty sure it's Jim Thorpe.
I don't
But
know.
it's like a pretty, like people go there. A lot of people go. So we climbed up this waterfall. We ended up hiking for a long time. We were running around the woods. We ended up like, we were like taking pictures with like our guns out and stuff. and like
Knives
this
and
like
stuff.
dumb shit in the woods. And then we end up shacking up in this little like, actually this cool little valley.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
By this creek. And so we had the fire, and we're all hungry. And we're like, well, shit, no one brought any food. I think Brian brought like a Hot Pocket.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
What?
We split a Hot Pocket like 3 ways. We were like, yeah, that didn't work.
But he ended up going, so we were hungry, so Casey and I stayed, and Brian just hiked out, like all the way out back to a 7-Eleven. Because we saw 7-Eleven when we were coming in, so we hiked out, went to the 7-Eleven, grabbed us like some
He grabbed
beef
a bunch
jerky.
of water, beef jerkies, hoagies.
hoagies. Yeah, he brought gas station hoagies. Hiked back in. So in reality, we weren't that far away.
We just went and like slept in the woods. We didn't.
Okay.
It's the equivalent of you going out back into the woods and sleeping.
It wasn't a camping trip. Yeah. You go into your backyard, take a nap. When you get hungry, go inside, grab Cheetos, and go back outside.
Yeah,
That's what we did.
that's what we did.
You had guns? You didn't try and shoot a rabbit or...
Nah.
We did see like one, was it like a turkey or something? It was a big bird.
Oh yeah, there might have been a turkey.
Yeah, that's all I saw though.
Yeah.
That's the only wildlife
That's
I
all
saw the
I
whole
really
time.
saw, yeah. There wasn't any fish or anything either.
No.
Yeah, we were just... It was like, I think it was one of those things where we built it up so much in our head that when we finally got there, we were like, well, what do we do now? You know, like you have all this build up, like when you have a kid, like you ever hear people, like my parents, when they had their first kid, they're like, it's all this build up for 9 months to get ready to have a kid. You get it home and then you're like, well, like, all right, do something, you know, and then it doesn't do anything. That's it.
You're like, I'm going to get this thing back now.
Yeah.
So was that before or after your Naked and Afraid, your crusade to be on Naked and Afraid?
Yeah. That was like,
it's around the same
that was
time,
kind of
right?
during.
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of during.
So I'm wondering, were you naked the whole time in the woods and Brian and Ty were just in clothes?
I tried to get him to.
He was naked.
They didn't want to. Yeah. They didn't want to be. That was kind of around the same time because that was when you and Bri decided to do the hydroponics shit you guys tried to grow and built this like ecosystem behind the desk of Explode.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Goldfish and peas. Growing peas. Which probably didn't even work because
I think it grew a pea or two.
No, it did, but like seeds have enough nutrition in them to
do it
sprout. Oh. Yeah, seeds have enough in them to sprout for a few weeks. It's beyond that where you need to make sure that you gotta take care of them. So that's probably all that happened.
Yeah. That's probably is all that happened. I got a fish out of it though.
Yeah, he ate one of the fish.
A goldfish?
Well, yeah, pretty much. It was. Did it die or did? All right, so it was dead. We came in and this goldfish was dead. So we were like naturally like throwing it at each other and stuff like that.
It's the only option with a dead fish.
And so I was sitting there and Brian was like, I don't know, he's probably like 10 or 12 feet away from me. And I was like, yo, if you can get that in my mouth from here, I'll eat it. And I opened my mouth and he threw it and it like hit me in the shoulder. And I was like, oh, all right. And then he was like, let me try again. And sure enough, dude, he throws it and it lands like right on my tongue, makes a little smack. And I was like, and I had that. So I had to swallow it. But it was gross.
Yeah, I've actually seen in person someone swallow a goldfish and throw it back up, and it was not dead.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, yes.
That's pretty cool.
Ugh.
I just hope he puts it on his resume, that's all.
You ever see David Blaine do it with the frog?
The frog was crazy, but that's a frog. I guess, I don't know. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wait, what did he do? He swallowed a frog?
So he does a thing where it's on his mouth, and then he closes his mouth and it's gone, and then he's like, here's the frog.
No, it's even crazier than that. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's called the Human Aquarium, and this guy would put animals like frogs in them, but he would keep them down there for a long time. So David Blaine would do acts, his magic acts, and I don't know if it would be like 15, 20 minutes, maybe longer sometimes. And you wouldn't know. He did it behind stage before he came out, so you didn't know. And then all of a sudden, like middle of his act, he pulls out this thing and starts like, moving it up his throat, and you're like, what is he doing? And he spits out a frog.
So like during the first 20 minutes of his act, he's just frog in his
stomach. Yeah, the whole it's in his stomach the whole time.
That's so crazy. Yeah. You think man, that sucks for that frog. He's like, I'm sorry, this is just where you fit in the act.
Yeah, it does suck for that frog.
Here's the grand finale. Damn. Isn't there's a thing that they were saying Houdini, like there's this point in your throat or like your tongue where you can swallow something like that halfway point and you can actually just hold it there.
Maybe.
And that's like Houdini did a lot of that with his like, getting out of handcuffs and like keys and stuff. But there's like a certain place in your throat, like where your tongue in your throat, and it just like you can just store shit there.
So how long can you store it there?
I don't know. I guess you gotta just practice, but I'm pretty sure it was a Houdini thing.
I believe it.
But I mean, think about like sword swallowing and stuff like that. Yeah.
I remember at Westchester, this ex-heroin addict basketball player came to talk to us, and he said he would buy heroin from this guy who would have like a little hook in his mouth, and he'd pull the hook, and there were just like bags of heroin, like 10 inches long, that he would just store down his throat, and he would just pull them out give you one and then just put it back down.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like genius, though.
Like little balloons of heroin. Instead of sticking them in his ass or something like that, he would just hold them in his throat.
That's crazy.
Fuck.
He just had a little string in his throat like the whole time.
Yeah.
Amazing. I wonder how do you train for that?
You
You just happen to have that ability? That's like a God-given ability, or you just...
I think
Can
you
you
just go
practice?
for it.
maybe that one you actually should probably use heroin. That might convince you to try it.
One of the balloon breaks? Fuck.
I think that's a reasonable thing to be afraid of.
It is,
Very
absolutely.
scary. Very scary.
Yeah.
I saw this thing. You ever see the show on... It used to be on Spike TV. It was called 1,000 Ways to Die.
Yep.
Mhm.
Dude, there was one where this I guess this like drug cartel or something was shipping liquid cocaine, and it just looks like water, like it's just a clear liquid. But somebody, I guess, like found it or whatever, and ended up drinking it, thinking it was just water, but they ended up ingesting like an incredible amount of cocaine, because once it's out of the liquid form and they like make it powder or whatever again, it's like supposed to be a shit ton of coke. So they ingested, I don't even know, like something crazy, like I don't know, like fuck 10 grams of coke. I don't know. That was one of the things.
Oh my god.
Isn't that crazy?
Did you see is it Narcos? Is that the show?
I saw a little bit, but not really. No.
I haven't seen it.
Is that the one about Pablo Escobar?
Yeah.
So they had women transferring the cocaine in baggies in their rectum, and they'd give them a lot of money. So in the show, there was a pregnant woman who was doing it, and the bag burst, and it killed her and the baby. And it was like trying to build him up into this huge villain, but he like bought out the family and gave them more money than they could possibly even imagine. But it was still really dark because you just see like a dead pregnant lady.
That's crazy,
That's
man.
part of the show. Yeah. Breaking Bad was like, I guess like PG-13, and this was like the real what actually happened. Scary.
Yeah. Dude, that shit is real scary. Like, I do this CrossFit class at a drug and alcohol rehab, and some of the ladies come in, and they're like a solid 6-7 months pregnant. And I'm like, oh, man, like, you're you know what I mean? You're just getting here now, you know? It's just wild, man. It's wild that it's like that powerful. Like drugs and heroin and stuff is that powerful that you're, you know what I mean? You're still doing it while you're pregnant and all that kind of shit.
So now that you brought that up, tell me a little bit about that.
About what?
You doing a CrossFit class? Yeah.
So it's a CrossFit class. We do it like I'm in twice a week. It's a drug and alcohol rehab. And I just do an hour. There's no equipment or anything, so we pretty much just do a lot of body weight calisthenics and stuff. And yeah, we get in, push-ups, a lot of sit-ups. You know, I'll get to talk to everybody, hang out, play music. Everybody likes that because, like, they can't have phones and shit in rehab, so the only music they get to listen to is when I'm there, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But it's good, man. I get in, everybody gets sweaty. Like, everybody's, like, detoxing and whatnot, so it really only takes, you know, like, one workout that we'll do is, like, 25 burpees for time. Yeah. And everybody's just toasted after that.
Yeah, because they're, like you said, they're in like a withdrawal stage.
A lot of people come out of detox, you know what I mean, and just like malnourished and all that kind of stuff. So it's good that, like, I'm catching a good response from it, you know what I mean, because I think people are really grasping the idea that, like, when they leave class, like, we have all the endorphin rush and stuff like that, and, you know, it makes people feel good. So it's really kind of like re-energizing for a lot of people that are there.
That's awesome.
You know, which is pretty dope.
What made you want to start doing that?
Actually, a friend of mine, he's another CrossFit instructor, was doing it, but it was like a 45-minute drive for him to go. So he was asked if I wanted to take it over. So pretty much that. But, I mean, once that was there, I was just kind of like, yeah, you know, I definitely want to try to do my part. You know what I mean, and help people out and that kind of stuff, you know?
That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, Tony Robbins talks about, like, if you're in a funk, you need a state change. And what better state change than exercise?
Yeah.
It, like,
yeah, I think so.
completely flip your mood around.
Exactly. And I think it's good too that it's probably actually better, I would say, that we only get to do calisthenics stuff because it's something that they'll always be able to do, So even if they're, back to being homeless or something like that, you can always just remember it and get a little bit of a workout in and try to get yourself back to, back to forward thinking. But so that's cool too. But yeah, I agree with you. The mentality of it, a lot of people who come in now, I've had some repeat people who have come, they've gotten out of rehab and then they're back again, relapse and stuff like that. But for the most part, I've kept in touch with a couple of them and they're all doing really well. So I think, whether it was a big part or a big role that doing the CrossFit classes played or a small role, in some fashion, it definitely helps,
Have you gotten any of them as members after they've been released?
No. I usually offer, or I have a standing offer that if you come from there, it's a free month. The first month is free, that they can come in and do shit. And then, obviously I think if, I'd work with somebody, you know what I mean? You want to have good people in the gym and you want to have the gym be helpful to people. So if they can't afford membership, that's one of those things where you just make the judgment call, But yeah, no, I haven't had anybody who's actually turned into a member just yet because a lot of them aren't from around here. You know what I mean? A lot of them are actually from prison. And then, there's a couple people that are off the street, but the majority of people that are at this rehab, I think, are, either post-jail rehab or a pre-trial rehab kind of thing. So a lot of them aren't really from the area.
Is there anything that the guards or the people who work there, the therapists, want you to watch out for?
No, not really. I mean, there's the usual things, you don't want people to be, the guys and the girls can't be hanging all over each other and stuff. You got to keep everybody separate, or, you don't want people, getting in fights or stepping on each other's toes. Just keep a peaceful environment, that kind of thing. But I'm not necessarily in charge of looking for someone bringing drugs in or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about any withdrawal effects or limitations to exercise from these people?
Sometimes, but we do it at a low enough pace or a slow enough pace, low enough intensity that there's not really any worry of that per se. Some people who are at a fall risk or have a heart thing going on, everybody has those wristbands, different color system wristbands that mark, what they are at risk for or whatever. And then everybody there is also pretty self-aware as far as what they can and can't do. I always give the spiel of this is all working at your own pace and that kind of stuff. And so people are pretty understanding of that. Like I said, sometimes people come in, they'll do 5 push-ups and be wiped, and that's all that is for the day. But as far as I didn't have to do any real medical training or anything like that. Just my level 1 and certifications and that kind of shit, and insurance doesn't, I'm pretty much good. I'm pretty much only there as just an outside consultant as far as the business or the books go. So a lot of that responsibility doesn't necessarily hit me. Nothing more than would say personal training somebody in a gym.
Right.
You're looking at shit. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't had anything major happen with anybody. I had one lady who was a fall risk. She was losing her balance and fell a little bit, but it wasn't a bad one.
Right.
Fight the other day, actually. That was pretty interesting. Yeah. There's a fight over the music.
Over the music.
What'd
you have to do?
Nothing.
Just change the channel?
Yeah, pretty much. Because some people will come in and, kind of linger on the side and not really want to work out, only want to listen to music and that kind of stuff. So there's always the back and forth. So this guy, he works hard. He actually gets in, he works hard, and he does the shit. So he was asking to put on a song, and someone else was I'm not putting on that song. And then, it just blew up from there, which is seemingly dumb, but it's in such a more intense environment, I guess.
Sure.
Everything just blows up, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's on edge, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you normally work out to? Beethoven, or are you more a Bach?
like a Whitney Houston kind of cat.
Whitney Houston.
Celine Dion. I like to slow it down. I like to intertwine physical work with emotional feels.
Nice.
You know.
You just see me crying on the floor. That can't do that.
No, the music they play sucks. Actually, I'll be honest with you, because they play all this like new rap, like dumb. Like you ever hear of mumble rap?
Yes.
And like that kind of stuff. It's like that's what they play, and I'm like, you guys don't know music, man. This is terrible.
That just means you're getting old, Case.
It
Dude,
actually, yeah.
isn't that what that means?
It does.
I was driving.
I'm with you though. I'm with
right?
you 100%.
I mean, I was driving with my cousin the other day, who's 17 years old, and he plays me this song. It's a remixed song that's out. I don't know what it's called, and it's by. You know who the Ghetto Boys are?
Nope.
You ever hear? No. Guys.
Okay, maybe I heard it because my school is mostly like lower socioeconomic status, a lot of blacks and a lot of Spanish people. So they listen to a lot of stuff, and it's things I've never heard of.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever heard of Bushwick Bill?
No.
No. Do you ever hear the song "My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me"? It's like my mind's playing tricks on me. No.
Maybe.
Oh, man, you guys are proving my point then, I guess. But it's this song that's remixed anyway, and he's playing it now. And I was like, dude, that's not that song. I was like, this is the song. And it's from like the 1980s. And I was like, you know what, man? You guys don't know. Just don't know. Don't get it. Like a lot of people, like I think I was telling you the other day that someone at my gym I was talking to is a young girl. And she was saying how Ice Cube is an actor.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, what? Yeah. Ice Cube, the rapper, you mean?
I mean, he is an actor.
He is an actor, but
funny one. That's
true too.
Yeah, how cool is it that his son played him in that movie?
Really cool.
That's so cool.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Do you have anything that like? There's nothing that happens to you to make you feel old. How old are you, man?
25.
Yeah,
you're wrong.
All
Same age. No, no, I'm with you on that though. Like I'll hear there's a few songs that are out, like new rap songs that come out. I could count on way less than one hand the number that I like.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's hard to not like Eminem stuff, but that doesn't even count as rap anymore. He's more like pop is just what's popular, and he's popular. Him, Ed Sheeran.
I don't know. I would say most of Eminem stuff is not popular. I would say.
You think it's not popular?
I would say the majority of it is not popular. You hear the popular stuff on the radio by definition. By definition, you hear a lot of the stuff on the radio. That's the popular ones, but I would say most of his stuff is more underground-ish. But the one with Ed Sheeran, yeah, that's a great one.
And that's the one that's always on the radio, like literally twice an hour, every hour, all day.
Yeah.
Dude, I started listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival a lot. I love those guys.
That's a new group, right?
They just came out. Yeah.
Just came out.
This student band from Westchester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We were at a karaoke night / like dueling pianos bar, and we were like, yeah, let's listen to some Coldplay. And we wrote on a piece of paper, early 90s Coldplay. And then we handed up there, and then they're like, just for you guys who requested 90s Coldplay, they were founded in like 2004, so we're just going to play that instead. Like, not even close.
90s.
Yeah.
Do you think Coldplay is like slowly losing members from their band like every day? Because every time they come out with new music, it's like more and more poppy, and you're like, oh, well, that's now electronic, and that's now electronic. So now it's just
slowly transitioning out.
It's just the singer and like one dude with a electronic pad.
It could be.
Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, that happens all the time, right? There was a documentary about that, actually. I didn't watch it, but it's about like when someone's like a single person, like Justin Timberlake has his band, I guess.
Right.
But all those people are pretty interchangeable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And like
some of them stick around though, but yeah, they're because you're there to see Justin Timberlake. You're not there to see the guy who plays the drums.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I went to a Justin Timberlake concert. I just feel like I gotta get this out. And I didn't really know much about him as an artist other than like NSYNC. And I went to this.
You've been missing a lot. There was a lot between NSYNC and today.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This concert was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
It was the 2020 concert, the 2020 tour. And he came out, dude, by the end of this concert, I was like a diehard Justin Timberlake fan.
Yes.
This guy killed it. It was amazing. Like, the showmanship was incredible. It was just him for 2 hours just going at it. It was awesome.
I'm trying to think of bands that people go to see now, but, I mean, I know they exist, but are there any mainstream bands?
Not.
There's like the Foo Fighters.
Yeah. Foo Fighters is one.
I mean, Fall Out Boy is still kind of relevant. They're a band.
Fall Out Boy. I like Fall Out Boy,
Boy,
man.
yeah.
They're good. Paramore is probably another one.
Paramore.
I thought it was just the Haley Williams show.
Maybe it is now. I don't know. I could be behind on that. Yo, but Ed Sheeran again. That dude. You ever see him perform?
No.
Like
Well, not in person.
Video of it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, that is awesome. He goes on stage in front of tens of thousands by himself, quite literally by himself, and just takes out his loop pedals and makes the song right in front of you. So awesome.
I've heard really good things about him, and I've read really good things about him. Like how he'll play a show, and then when he's done, he'll just go to a dive bar and just play the same show to whoever's in the dive bar.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dave Chappelle does that too with stand-up comedy. Like, he'll do like shows, and then he'll go to some like comedy club in like in the alley or something, or on the corner, and just like start telling jokes.
Well, for a while he was before this year or last year when he came out with these new specials, in the interim, he was just going around. He would set up an amp in the middle of parks and just like start telling jokes.
How cool is that, dude?
Like, what did he say? He was like, I'm too good at this.
He is.
He is. Real good.
I like to listen to Joe Rogan talk about it. He talks about stand-up a lot.
Yeah.
And the process. Like, he was saying just how often you have to bomb to make it.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Like, you hear stories from actors about how many auditions they got totally rejected, no callbacks or anything.
Yeah.
And that's like, no, they're Brad Pitt or something.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
That's such a hard industry. I couldn't imagine, like, literally you try out for 100 parts and they all tell you you're not good enough. Like, that's different than not getting a job. That just means, like, maybe someone was better than you, or maybe they just slept with the right person, or, like, they look like the character, you know? But, oh, my gosh, just to be like, no. Sorry, no. Like, I'm just an extra. Like, I look like an ice cream man, or I could just ride a bicycle past the screen and fall. No.
Right.
Dude, we were saying this yesterday. And we were like, if someone ever asked me, like, hey, man, can you act? Just say yes. And even if you go and bomb, you tried. And
yeah, well, because the point being, they believed you when you said yes.
Yep. Yes.
So that's acting.
That is acting.
Always say yes.
Life hack.
Yeah.
Step number 1 to acting. Just say you can act.
That's the first act right there.
Fake it till you make it, dog. I feel like that holds true for a lot of places, a lot of workplaces.
Pretty much like every job ever.
Like open heart surgery, right?
I'm just making this shit up.
Yeah, exactly. Especially open heart surgery.
Yeah, you don't need a plan.
Fake it till you make it, dog.
Well, how do you know what to do till you get in there, bro? You know?
Even then, like, you're like, I'm pretty sure this is what we do, but I'm only pretty sure.
Yeah. I saw this once. I did that to my dad once. I pulled that on him. He had like a rib out, and it was like hurting his back. And I was like, I could try to pop it back in for you. And he was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I never did it before, ever. But I was like, kind of fake it. And then he was like, all right, yeah, do it. And I didn't think he'd say yes. So I was like, ooh. All right. So I had him lay on his stomach, and I like felt for it. And it was actually like, it was there. And I like, all right, like inhale, exhale. And as he breathed out, I was like, poof, and like pushed down, and like there was a crack, and like the rib popped in. And he was like, oh. And he was like, better. And I was like, holy shit, it worked. Worked. I can't believe it. And afterward, he was like, you ever do that before? I was like, no. He was like, what?
I hope you said, holy shit, that actually worked, and he heard you say that.
Yeah. You ever do that? You don't, like, you ever fake, what's something that you've made up that what you kind of got away with or didn't get away with?
Can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Come on, man. You've never, like, bullshitted directions or anything like that?
Oh, like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Not like that.
If you just think about like a job description, you look at a job description, like I can't do everything it says on the job description, but I'll say, yeah, I can.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember who I just heard this, but they said they're super successful now. They're like a billionaire. Quote from a billionaire.
Quote from insert billionaire here.
Your favorite billionaire.
Peter Thiel, Elon Musk.
Billionaire.
They said if I only did the things I was qualified to do, I'd be sweeping up the floor somewhere right now.
Oh God, I feel like it was like Chris Sacca or someone
Maybe.
like. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's true though, right? Like you have to kind of put yourself out of your league every now and then. You know what I mean, otherwise you're just gonna stay stagnant.
I mean, last time we talked about coaching. Like I didn't have any business coaching when I first started, but you just kind of like like, yeah, man, just RX it and see how it goes. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, I mean, you're better off RXing it and slowing down.
315 deadlifts, 40-inch box jumps, whatever.
Yeah, go ahead, dude. Give it a shot.
Wasn't that a workout? Deadlifts and 40-inch box jumps? Wasn't that like a regional workout?
30-inch box jumps, and it was 21:15.9.
Yeah. But even still, that was a shitty workout too, by the way.
Yeah, I did it and took longer than I wanted it to take.
Yeah.
Always does.
Sometimes they do that.
Yeah.
Always does.
I'm not a fan of box jumps in Metcons. Are you?
Oh,
guys?
actually,
No.
I wanted to ask you specifically about this. So you do all the programming for your own gym, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a method or any training or books or theories that you follow when you do your programming?
Yes. So we basically, I like to go in like 8 to 12 week cycles with things. And so we just finished up an 8-week strength cycle where we did a Wendler or like a version of Wendler. So like that's kind of where I'll put the meat and cheese of programming, and then I'll program Metcons that are just kind of like the auxiliary work.
Yeah.
For around that program. So we did that for 8 weeks. Then we spent a week of just like I call it like it's a deload week or like a transition week, and then we're getting into like power and skill building. So now we're gonna have now we'll get into like the Olympic lifts as our core lifts. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the strength training or the Wendler that we were doing, it was back squat, bench press, and deadlift, right? And we just skipped shoulder pressing. I just put shoulder pressing or like shoulder to overhead or something in the Metcon. And then so this one's coming up, we're going to do, like Monday snatch, Wednesday clean, Friday jerk, or clean and jerk, kind of interchange those somehow, something like that. So it's always Monday, Wednesday, Friday is like the high intensity work days. And then Tuesday and Thursday is like the low intensity small joint movement days. But I like to take the phasing or the cycling in like 8 to 12 weeks. So like I said, we just did a strength cycle for 8 weeks. Then we deloaded. Now we're getting into this week coming up is going to be the start of like an Olympic lifting phase, which I like to use that for power training just because of the inherent like skill required to perform those movements. So we'll lump that in with like some skill work, gymnastics, stuff like that. Metcons will probably be a little bit shorter and faster for the next 8 weeks as opposed to like those long 20, 30-minute guys, just because we're in that like quick phase. And then we'll start to, after that, we'll start to put on some conditioning and kind of just follow that throughout the year pretty much.
So how do you address the Monday, Wednesday, Friday when you have members who have 2 times a week membership and they come Tuesday, Thursday?
Well, everybody's unlimited membership at my gym.
Okay.
So that kind of helps. So I only do an unlimited membership just for like that reason. Like it's easier to keep track of too on the back end.
Yeah.
But basically what I'll do is Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be those high intensity days. And as we know, like that's where you get your results from for the most part, or the most bang for your buck. So if someone can't make those days and they're Tuesdays and Thursdays, since it's low intensity training, I run it more so like an open gym than a structured class format. So like people will come in, the workout will be on the board, like it'll be the warm up on the board, the workout, auxiliary work, or like, the lift for the day, auxiliary work, and blah, blah, blah. And it's more like a traditional sort of like bodybuilding session rather than a formal Metcon. you know? So with that being said, people are all kind of working at their own pace with everything. So if anybody comes in and wants to do other work, there's space for that in the gym to where it's more so, you know, more relaxed of an atmosphere to where people can, if they miss something, come in and do, you know, whatever they wanted to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really interesting that you set up with Tuesdays and Thursdays being open gym. I've never heard of a model like that before, ever.
Well, actually, like I was asking because me and Ty were talking a lot, and I was trying to figure out like a way to do it because what I was noticing is, and I noticed this with a lot of CrossFit gyms, is every day you do a Metcon for the most part, right? Or it's like a really intense lifting day, maybe once a week, something like that. But oh, you going back? Yeah. But what I was noticing was like every day, if someone's doing a Metcon every day at high intensity, you're gonna burn out. You know, and so I'd have people come in like Monday through Thursday, and then I wouldn't see them Friday through the next like Wednesday. You know, not because of work, but because they're just like, I need a break, or, you know, my shoulder was really bothering me by the end of the week and I didn't have time to like rehab it or anything like that. So what I was thinking and what me and Ty were kind of come up with was how can we promote longevity for people kind of without them knowing it? Because if you're going to leave it up to somebody who's a client to be that self-aware, to truly understand like what's happening behind these workouts in their body, it's probably not as likely that they're going to get that. Does that make sense? And like, that's why we're there, to kind of like do that for them.
So Ty, do you coach at Casey's gym?
No.
I was just kind of asking him about it as like what he thought would work, because I was looking at, you know, the OPEX model and then looking at the CrossFit model, and we're trying to figure out how I could, you know, like blend the two together to get the best of both worlds, because I think both offer really good things, you know?
Yeah, we talked a lot about how you could do that at your gym.
Yeah. And it's in all honesty, man, it's really been working pretty well. Everybody is like retention or consistency of attending class is up. You know, people aren't getting these like nagging injuries or getting taken care of because of that Tuesday, Thursday low intensity day, you know, or on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you're able to really dive in 100% on the Metcon and put in a real high intensity workout because you're not really, you know, slacking from the day before, that kind of thing, you know. So it's worked pretty well so far. And it actually, man, in all honesty, it makes programming a little bit easier because it kind of feels like you open up more options. Like if I had to come up with 5 new Metcons every week, I'd be like trying to blow my brains out without, you know, doing more than one exercise in the same week and that kind of shit and overlapping stuff. It's just a lot to think about. And I think, you know, you can, at least for me, I think my programming would suffer because of it. We'd have a lot of overuse going on, you know? So it helped me to structure like programming better that way too.
So when I wrote a few months of programming a few times for a gym that I was coaching, and the way that I set it up was if Monday, Wednesday, Friday was squat, bench, dead, the next week I shifted everything up one day. And then the way that I alternated, it was kind of like more of a max effort dynamic method. So instead of just staying squat 5, squat 4, squat 3, or squat 5, 3, 1, it was like double leg squat. And then the next week, instead of on Monday, it offset to Tuesday. So Tuesday was a lower body strength day, but it was single leg or unilateral.
Oh, okay.
So it was like spaced out so that eventually every day of the week you'd be hitting a squat or like a lower body press day.
Yeah, just in a different fashion.
Right, and that way it was easy to make the programming because you put it in a spreadsheet and you just have like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then everything shifts around that base movement.
Yeah, that's cool for people who can't get in on Mondays at all, you know?
Yeah.
They can never make...
And that's how it started. Like, we had people who had never done a clean, a heavy single clean or a heavy triple because they'd never came on Tuesdays.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
so just by shifting it, that's cool. And then I guess just every 4 weeks or 5 weeks, it kind of resets.
Yeah, every 5 weeks, or I mean, I guess 6 but we didn't really use Saturdays for the strength cycle. And then at that week, I would do like a week of no heavy lifting at all.
So it's like a deload week, and then just reset. That's cool.
So do you, and Ty, because you program for people too, do you, how many people were at that gym? Was it a big gym or a smaller gym?
talking between 100 and 150, so probably like 130 average.
Like so moderate size. It's a pretty good size gym.
Yeah.
So like, because I have a couple things in my head, and then my other thought is, do you program 5 weeks ahead of time, or do you, like, how far out do you program, or would you program?
So if it was, for me, it's easier to program 2 months straight. So that's like, for me, two months is like a solid block of time where I can come up with a consistent plan. You could specialize in gymnastics, or we could work on the pull-up, or we could work on pistols. And that's enough time to where, for me, I feel like my members get enough exposure to understand the changes in the movement and create like a lasting pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But
go
ahead.
When you do that, do you program like everything for 2 months, including Metcons?
I mean, yes and no. Ideally, yes, but it doesn't always work out like that.
Right.
You know, and then we have some people who want to do a competition. You know, we just had a competition at our home gym recently, and there were like,
I saw that. Yeah.
like 70 people that signed up. So you have to keep that in mind, because that's half your members. Or if enough people want to do a competition, you know, like maybe 15 to 20%. If 20% of your members, even 10%, because that's a lot of members, 15 members want to do something, you have to kind of work in their specialty just to show that you want to support what they're doing.
Right.
But it's really hard. The hardest part is putting a deload week in, because people don't understand it. Or you do a week with no strength workouts, and then people are just squatting on their own after the workout.
Yeah,
because they feel good, and then the next week you're like, all right guys, let's hit a one or like a back squat double from a 15-inch box, and like, oh, my knees hurt. I'm like, you dummy. You've been doing a 24-week strength cycle.
Yeah.
Well, that's why. So the reason I ask is because, like, my gym is smaller, so we have like 40 members right now.
Yeah.
And so I get to really like pay close attention to everybody. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I do, like, as far as Metcons go, like, I have this loose structure. Like, I know that Wendler goes 3x5, 3x3, 5-3-1. It's like that 4 week, and then the 4th week's deload week, and that whole deal. Like, I understand how that goes. So that's like the loose template. But then I like to do everything. Like, I'll program the next day's workout the night before, you know, and I don't do anything in advance, because I like to, like I said, it's a smaller gym, so I'm able to talk to everybody and kind of say, hey, what do you guys want to do tomorrow? What do you guys want to work on? And I can kind of cater to it like that. But I think that only works because I'm a smaller gym.
Yeah.
You know? So I can kind of get away with that, being a little less, I guess, formal with programming a week ahead or anything. But also I think I enjoy, and you kind of alluded to this too, like, I think it's good to do the day's work. Like, say you get done Monday's work, because I do all the workouts and stuff with the gym, so I know where everybody's at and how everybody feels and stuff. And so then I can better plan for the next day based off of, like, you know, how did that workout hit you? Because you don't really know until you do it.
Yeah, so in a perfect world, I would be doing the workouts, like, if I own a gym, me and my coaches would do the workout a week ahead of schedule.
Yeah. That's what you guys did at Villanova, right?
Yeah, that is what we did at Villanova.
Yeah, because you can run into something that you just, on paper, looks good, but it's impossible. Or, like, you write an EMOM that just, like, you can't do it. It's just not.
Like, even logistically, like, with your equipment and stuff. Yeah.
I like to program a week out. That's what I do. And so I'll write. I'm not writing for a gym. I'm writing for individuals. But I'll write each person every week. I write that person's stuff for the next week.
Yeah.
Their whole everything.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way, like, with like you said, with 5-3-1, you know how it works. So, like, you can base it off of that. I have a bunch of different template kind of models that people are working off of, different templates based on their different, you know, their goals, and I adjust it as needed. So I know, like, okay, well, last week this person was doing their sets of 8, so this week we're going to be moving on to this and change that and whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll do the whole week out, and I like it a lot, because being able to see all the workouts that you're going to do in that week, that helps me prevent repeating movements from Monday on Friday, because I'm like, well, wait, I just programmed that on Monday.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Prevent doing 50 chest to bars 3 times a week, you know?
Yeah, I will do that too. Like, as the week goes on, that's a good point. I do look back just to double check that I'm not, you know, overkilling one certain thing. But I generally, like, I try to keep it as simple as I can because that's kind of how my brain works. So like,
Yeah.
just if I'm worried about anything else, it's just pushing versus pulling, and then work backwards from there. You know, if I'm lost.
Yeah, that's the easiest way, because once you have your core element, strength or skill, it's easy to move on and reinforce. Like, you shouldn't be doing, in my opinion, you shouldn't have a gymnastic skill, like a toe to bar skill, and then not do a movement with a kip and hip flexion. Like, it just,
in the workout.
yeah, you just do like shoulder to overhead and running. The movement patterns are just not the same.
Yeah, but you're practicing toes to bar. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like it should be in there.
I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't, toes to bar necessarily doesn't have to be in there, but you should have at least a kip swing, right? And you should have something with a squat to focus on the control of the hip flexors or the glutes and hamstrings in combination.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree with you totally. I think all that goes back to like, you know, you have, like you said, you have the core lift or the core movement. Like any strength program has a back squat as your core movement, and then you just create your auxiliaries around that. And that's kind of how you look at the Metcon as compared to when you're in a strength cycle. Like the focus is on the strength training, and then the Metcon supports the strength training or the skill practice or whatever, like you're saying. I agree with that.
Ty,
Sure.
have you had any trouble with your individual design clients not doing deload weeks or overdoing?
No, because I tell them they're only getting workout.
Yeah.
All they're doing is what I'm giving them.
Okay.
And when I write the deload week, typically for everybody, it's the fourth week is typically what I do. There's some that are on more of a linear progression, and we have to wait until until they get to a point where they start stalling in their progress, and then we'll throw in a deload week. So it might not be the fourth week; it might be the sixth week or something like that. But no, I'm telling them, hey, this is the deload week. I write it in big bold letters and on Monday, so that way they know what's up. And then I make sure, like, depending on the person, I make sure that the Metcon is also toned down as well. So no, I don't really have issues with them going out and doing extra stuff.
Yeah.
But every time, so it's kind of funny because every time I do a programming week for one person, I'm also doing it for like it's like 18, 20 people. So I end up writing 18 weeks of programming every
Oof.
week. Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
It is
So
a
you have
lot.
18 individualized programs right now.
Yeah.
So do you reuse any programs for anyone ever, or do you just
So-
write them from scratch basically?
So like with the strength stuff, right? You'd be reinventing the wheel if you did
Right.
18 completely unique programs.
And you
Yep.
don't know if they'd work because
Yeah.
you don't have
Yeah.
experience.
There are tons of strength templates out there that are tried and true. You know, they've been
Yeah.
proven to work. What you got to do is just tailor it to the person. Like, one, what are their goals? Are they trying to build muscle? Are they trying to lose weight? Do they have performance-related goals where they want to be stronger or whatever? Is there a specific movement? Or are they just like, or this 65-year-old who just wants to be functional in their daily life, right?
Yeah.
You have different templates that you're going to choose from that and then tailor it to that specific individual from there based off of their weights that they're capable of. If this person is able to do high reps at high percentages, or are they only capable of low reps at high percentages, you know? With Metcons, you can be a little more creative and there's endless combinations of Metcons that you could use that are effective. So you can be a little more creative. But if you come up with one that's like really killer and awesome and somebody gets a great response from it, and you know your other client is very similar person,
Right.
might throw that in there on a similar day to see if they get that same response.
Do you find your classical education or like your CSCS background to be more helpful in individualized design
More helpful than what?
than like CrossFit training or your own personal experience training if you had no education or books or
Right.
blog
Yeah.
articles or all OPEX theory?
Yeah, it's so the different certifications. Yeah. Did you take the CSCS? Did you go through that
We
one?
took the class and we could have taken it, but it doesn't have any use for me right now, so I just haven't taken it.
Yeah, it's honestly like just because you pass a CSCS test, it's not like there's no amazing practical application that you get out of that, right? I actually think the OPEX course I think it's just the program design course.
Is it
It has
practical
the most.
programming? Is that what it's called?
No, that's a book. We can talk about that as well, but that's different. The program design course in the OPEX module has probably the most practical application that I've seen in any other place that I've come across, including school and whatnot. But that's just if you didn't have any experience to pull from yourself, right? Like if you didn't have any personal experience and you knew absolutely nothing and you wanted to learn the most you could, get the best bang for your buck, I would send you there to that course. But obviously experience over years working with yourself and other people, that helps a lot too.
So how do you address like relative maximal intensity or other factors that are hard to measure without physically meeting or seeing a person?
Well, so I know everybody. I see everybody that I program for.
Oh, okay.
I have two remote clients. One is my brother, who for the past year we were working out together, and he just recently moved to Florida. So
I saw you did a competition. Did he do a competition recently?
Yeah, him and I, we did a competition like
Nice.
the week before he moved down. So that was cool. But so I had that whole year of working with him in person to see that. And then the other remote client I have is somebody who I had worked with for many years before he decided to build his home gym and work at home. So it does get tough though, not seeing them and actually seeing how they respond to the workout. You have to get a lot of feedback, like online and stuff, to have them describe how it felt if you want the best program. Because otherwise, if you're just going in, checking the box, saying you did it, then I can only assume that everything's going well, Yeah. But so I try to get as much feedback as I can. But those are the only two I have. Everybody else is people I see.
I think that's important. I'm not the biggest fan of remote programming without having had like past history with that person. You know what I mean? Like if I was just meeting somebody or delivering a program to somebody that I'd never met before, even if they sent me video and such, like you can't really catch a good feel on like, how things are going or what their state of mind is and all that kind of stuff. All that like X factor stuff that comes into training and programming or, like coaching somebody.
Yeah, that's what makes a good trainer a great trainer versus someone who's just a...
Communication is key. Like if you don't have that, it's not going to work out.
Well, and like I think the part of it is like with relative maximal intensity, like you're saying, or what is it? Rate of perceived exertion.
Yeah.
What I might say, oh, that was hard. But in reality, like, I just don't really know what to compare it to, So I think if you're going to remote program or if you're going to get remote programming, you have to have some sort of base level of experience. You know what I mean? Like we use this example of like, there's a lady at the gym who might have, it's like, this one, she's like I don't know, I guess like middle-aged lady. She will put, a training bar and tens on for every workout.
Right.
And she'll snatch it and it'll be, oh, that snatch is so hard. But then when she's cleaning her weights up, she picks it up with one hand and like puts it on her shoulder and is like, hopping over. Like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff could happen, I think, more so when you have, without having like, some sort of face-to-face actual interaction with that person.
And it's also like some coaches, I don't think I'm the best at this by any means, but some coaches are really good with communicating with their clients who are remote like that. But also on the flip sides, the client has to be really good about it as well. Yeah. They both have to pretty much be open books if you want it to work like really well. You can't just... I'm not the biggest fan of remote programming, to say the least.
I guess you could say like for that, you just have to give like you'd almost have to give them more of like the template of programming and go more along the lines of like teaching them how to program for themselves. So when you give them the template, they understand what to, like it's a different track. You know what I mean? Like if I'm meeting with a person one-on-one all the time, I can just be like, all right, pick this up. All right, squat that. All right, do this, do that, pull them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it can be more mindless. But perhaps, like you said, it takes a little more on the client's end to be a little more like intuitive with what's happening to be successful.
Well, yeah, they need to know that, okay, you told them to do a set of 20 on the back squats, but their hip has been killing them because of what they did this whole weekend. Like, all right, let's not do that, you know?
Right.
They need to have the free reign to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you run into any of that trouble, Ant, with programming for people? I have another question too, by the way. But,
Definitely don't forget it. But I only worked with one individual since I moved out here, and it was really interesting because I played Ultimate Frisbee with him, and his capacity for power output was just tremendous while we were playing. And then we went to the weight room and like a couple sets of squats with like some black burns or like retraction exercises, and he was just puking in the bathroom. Like it was really difficult for me to understand, like even sitting there in person, like I've seen you sprint and dive and get up and jump and run again and just keep sprinting. Like your lactate threshold is high, but it was very like movement specific, I guess.
Yeah.
It was literally like a couple sets of back squats, like under body weight and just like holding a 2-pound weight on this prone with your arms up off the ground, and it was just puke.
Have you ever thrown up working out?
I wrote this down on something to talk about, but I have not.
Me either.
I've thrown up from wrestling, never from like a CrossFit, like a weightlifting day.
Do you think that had anything to do with like cutting weight though, or dehydration?
Oh, I bet you it did.
Yeah, absolutely. But like what you were saying, Ant, to like your friend, I know a lot of wrestlers or like jiu-jitsu players that are, if you roll with them, they're some of like the strongest grips or the strongest people, the hardest people to move you've ever tried with in your life, but they can't do shit in the weight room.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it is like there is some sport or like movement relativity that
Absolutely
affects that, you know what I mean?
Remember when we tried to box?
Yeah. Like I can, exactly. You know, like, boxing is a perfect example. It's just a different element, you know, what you're familiar with.
Yeah, I really think the regularly learn and play new sports is super underdeveloped.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's key. It is key.
Absolutely.
Because when we tried to box, you know, we had gone to regionals on a team, and you think we're in shape maybe, but
you guys had a team at the games, so it's not like there are only so many people who are literally fitter than a group. But
we tried boxing, we had no experience with it at all, and felt like we never worked out before.
Yeah, I'm tired. Yeah,
man. Like so. Well, meanwhile, the guys who are experienced are just like cool, calm, collected. They're no problem at all.
I think the key with something like that, and I think why it's so important to do like regularly try new sports or try new things, is because our physical fitness level was really high, right? But it's just your comfort level of being uncomfortable. That's what gets thrown off. And that's where, like, you ever see somebody, you can do 500 double unders in a row and not really be out of breath if you're consistent and relaxed with your double unders, you know what I mean, and efficient. Or you can try really hard and focus on trying to get that one double under and you blow your shoulders out after trying 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's just by trying new things, you're building your ability to walk into an unfamiliar situation and use your fitness to the potential that it's supposed to be used to. You know?
Ty, I keep thinking about it like playing the drums, like rudiments. So CrossFit is like your rudiments. You learn how to sit down, stand up, put your hands over your head, but you don't actually know how to play a percussion instrument until you actually play it. But if your rudiments or your fundamentals are better, your learning curve is way steeper than someone who just plays baseball and now they want to try and learn ice hockey.
Right.
Or you don't know how to improv, right? You can
you're a machine.
You can only play paradiddles really fast.
Right. And I'd love to see a gym do I'd love to see a CrossFit gym do like 1 week of jiu-jitsu only training every 1 month.
Dude, that'd be
or like
awesome.
pick
do that, dude.
pick any sport at all. So like one day is basketball, so you just do basketball skills and drills in your gym, and then next month on the 4th week of the month you do fucking ballet.
Dude, all the cone drills that we would do,
that'd be excellent. That's a great
at Villanova, all the cone drills we would do,
they're awful.
Dude, I loved mixing them in the like warm-ups. Some people wouldn't quite get it, they wouldn't understand it, and I would also avoid mixing it in if the class was too big because some people couldn't safely perform them, but But yeah, mix that stuff in, dude.
I think that kind of stuff, it's lost in this world of fitness because we're so used to having fitness be locked in a gym, and we're forgetting that, like, yo, when you're a kid playing sports, running around the soccer field all day, like, you're working,
That's
dude.
pretty cool, yeah.
You're working.
Those people can go to the gym and deadlift with good form, and they can do a push-up and their body just goes into the right positions with their shoulders, versus someone who does nothing and now they do CrossFit but they can't get into the positions for sport.
I mean, you think about, like, you ever see, I'm sure you've noticed this, you have people that come into your gym and you're like, all right, you played sports when you were a kid, you didn't play sports when you were a kid, and just based off of their body mechanic and just self-awareness.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell a naturally born or gifted athlete versus someone who is maybe more apt, like who isn't as gifted or doesn't move as
I don't want to say born or gifted, it's just time involved in a variation of sports.
Well, I think you can train to be better. Like, perfect example is Paige Henry. Like, not a naturally gifted mover or coordinated mover, but works really hard and, like, was able to learn that kind of stuff.
What he's saying is, like, if you're a gifted athlete, it's just because you were doing it when you were 5, as opposed to Paige, who wasn't.
Okay.
You know?
And not just that, but, like, you're a 3-sport athlete. You don't play soccer year-round. You play soccer, and then you swim, and then you play basketball. Like,
I agree. I think everybody needs to do something like that. I agree with you totally.
Well, research shows that you're less prone to injury with playing different sports as a kid.
Yeah. Makes
perfect sense.
Yeah, I know.
Those cone drills, like, CrossFit moves forward and backward mostly. You know what I mean? So, like, if I were to make a cut, I might blow my knee out, dude.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
My left and right movement doesn't support, you know, like, a 400-pound back squat. It just doesn't. You got to train that stuff. That's why I like the low intensity days back to, like, programming on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because we can address those issues a little more easily. I've found, at least.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean.
100%.
I think that's a good thing.
And what Anthony was saying with the single leg stuff, we do a lot of single leg, single arm stuff with, like, the OPEX programming, and that stuff's huge. Yeah,
it's huge, man.
Yeah.
What do you think is, like, the most overlooked stuff as far as programming or fitness routines, as it compares to, like, practical application of, like, real life movement? You know what I'm saying?
Hands down, you hit it already. It's lateral movement.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, how, like, we do a 400-meter run around a track, and you just run in, like, a smooth left circle, just over and over and over again. Like, they do it in the games. So
it's an ellipse. It's an ellipse, not a circle. Come on.
An ellipse. Sorry, my mistake. Oval.
All arguments discredited now.
All right, I'm done.
Which is actually worse, because at least in a circle you'd be constantly turning, whereas on the 400 you got 200s where it's just straight.
Yeah. But I think, like, there's no incentive to run forward, cut right, cut left, cut backwards, and then sprint back to the start. So you do grace, and every 5 reps you have to go through a cone drill, like you're saying. Like, it's a completely different workout.
I would do stuff like that for myself when I was at Villanova. Or, like, if it was just me and a couple buddies at the gym, I would mix them in to workouts like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be cool to apply that on a larger scale to a whole...
You were with Brendan, right, at Villanova?
Brendan?
He has, like, the craziest blue eyes I could imagine.
Oh, yeah. Aww. That's so cute.
I know. They're like ice.
No, I can't remember Brendan. Man, I hope I wasn't with Brendan, because that sounds like a dick.
No, I'm telling you, you were with Brendan, so you can...
Brendan.
What was his last name? Do you know?
Brendan? Brendan?
Nah, I don't know. I don't remember. Were you with Eric? Maybe you were with Eric Lang.
Yes, I was definitely
okay, so you were with Eric Lang. So I worked with both of them in the same place. So you were with Eric Lang.
Yeah.
But he has the same kind of thought mentality, because he works for the Rockets.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's great, man. I love that. I think that's one of the things, like, in jiu-jitsu, bro. Like, we'll do jiu-jitsu, and, like, from, you know, like one of the things that we have struggled with is, like triangle chokes, or, like, anything where I'm trying to lock up my legs, like, around body locks or anything. So, like, me and Ty both have, like, all this quad and hamstring, dude. I can't get it around you.
So another one would be landing. So we do box jumps, but do we ever train jumping off a box and
Right.
train
Oh,
proper
yeah.
landing mechanics.
Well, this is why I don't like this. On a side note, I don't do box jumps in a Metcon. I'll do like burpee box jump overs, something like that. But that's the extent of I'll do it in a Metcon, just because I think the application of a box jump needs to be both ways. You know what I mean? You got to jump up, you got to come down properly as well. I think that's a good point. That's like a side note, but
yeah, landing mechanics are huge because you'll see people they might even jump up well, but then when they land down, their knees knock together and they're all kind of like off balanced and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or on the rower, you ever see someone row with their knees just clamped together?
Yeah.
So, I mean, CrossFit, their model is that you learn how to abduct your hips from squatting because that's good squatting form, and their idea is that it translates to the perfect burpee or the perfect, landing from coming down off a muscle up, and then you just let go of the bar and you don't tear your ACL. But I think you actually have to practice those kind of movements.
Yeah, you do.
That's a good point.
But so with that, does CrossFit actually explicitly say that? Because I don't know if they do.
So I've heard of what's his name, Carl Paoli, talk about movement transfer exercises.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't represent the views of CrossFit, obviously, and neither do I. So it's just like their movements are limited in what they use regularly, but there's no way to measure box jump downs.
Yeah, no, you're right. But like going back to learn and play new sports regularly, because it's kind of it's kind of related here. It would be cool to do a week where we just did jiu-jitsu in the gym, and that's how we did it. But on a practical level, what I struggle with is I would agree that the squatting is more bang for your buck for the general population who's just trying to maintain some level of fitness, It would be cool, but...
Well, then maybe instead of a strength cycle, you still have your main bread and butter movement for the center of the workout, but then
But the first 20 minutes is something else.
Yeah. Or, I mean, you could even have someone in and have a seminar every month.
This week is jiu-jitsu now.
Say
like
that again, Case?
Like, just make a class like the interchangeable class.
Yeah.
Like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30 class is going to be like our new theme class every month.
I'm sure you'd have a ton of people coming in or checking it out.
Yeah, that'd be cool. What I was going to ask you before, like in regards to programming, and Ty, you, like this is for you too. With you guys, so like you guys program for people or you program for your gym or something like that. Is it expected, or how do you handle people who have your programming, but then they want to do something on the side also?
So do they want to do something on the side in addition, or do they want to do something else, period?
So my example is, in addition. So my example is you're writing a complete program for your gym, for your CrossFit gym, and somebody comes in for class, but they're always staying after doing an extra like strength program they got from, I don't know, just like Invictus.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? And now they're probably over-programmed, but they're doing everything. Like, what's your threshold for letting people do their own programming in your gym when you're already programming for the gym? Does that make any sense?
So, Ty, you want to take this first? Because I think about this all the time.
Yeah, sure. So I don't program for a gym, so I program just for the individuals, and they just do the stuff I send them. But except for my brother, he has a little more freedom. I let him have some freedom. But even then, like I know what he's doing.
Yeah,
is actually mostly like running stuff.
Right.
But for a gym, again, I don't program for a gym, but the way I would handle it is I would try to guide them in some way. I wouldn't necessarily say you couldn't do it, but I would try to guide them in some way.
I think in CrossFit, like typically it's like competitors, you know what I mean?
Right.
I want to compete, so I'm going to do this program. I'm not doing the class thing. I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Like you run into that a lot.
I would guide them, yeah.
So what were you going to say?
So at Rock Solid, I mean, I was even part of this problem. So I was coaching there, but I was like, well, I want to do more. So I'm just going to follow Ben Bergeron's programming because I liked it a lot. And then what happened was I did it, and then someone else did it, and someone else, and someone else, and someone else. And then you have like 12 or 13 people in 1 hour slot. No one's doing the workout, and everyone's doing something different. So that's not a good solution.
No.
Right.
You have to encourage that they do the Metcon, that's the gym's Metcon. You have to encourage that first.
So Icon Athlete, which is Chris Spieler's company, they program for gyms, and then they program the WOD. That's all you get. But they give you extra programming. What?
Said I'm not paying for that.
No,
So they program for your gym, and then they give you a before and after, a skill, a strength session, and you can post just the workout. You can post the strength in the workout, or it's a fully connected system from, warm up, strength, skill, metcon, cool down, or.
I thought you said it was just the metcon.
So you're looking at a gym, and the model is one workout a day. So like CrossFit.com doesn't do double days.
Right.
So the model is one effort a day, but you buy the programming and then they give you cohesive strength and conditioning on top. So you could do it that way. Or if you are a business owner and you want to benefit your client, you just charge them to do not distance, but online programming for them in addition to on top of their service.
Right.
So you could either do one-on-ones, which I think are not for everyone. Like people who are fit and moving around, they don't need one-on-ones. So instead, every week you write a program like Ty does, but instead of including all the conditioning, you just write on top of your current programming.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I think I feel like in a CrossFit gym, I hesitate to let people, at least at my gym, do their own like outside program.
Oh, for sure.
At like an open gym, because of like what you just said too, the community aspect. You know what I mean? If you have people doing all sorts of different things, now you lose the effect where after a workout, everybody's like, yo, that was tough for you too, wasn't it? And you kind of lose some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I think what we forget about a lot of times in CrossFit is, or I guess even just in any like, fitness competition, strongman be it, or powerlifting, but I think those, and Olympic lifting, I think those are more like stringently structured, if that's the proper way to say that, to where like that's a more clear plan. In CrossFit, there's all these kinds of programs and everybody's got their own way of getting to the same goal, which is like if you're talking competing, regionals and the games. So people are always kind of looking for, what's the new innovative program that's going to happen? Whereas that's not really where the results come from, right? Results come from high intensity. So if I'm programming workouts at the gym for my members, like that's the workout that I would do if I'm trying to train to go to regionals or the games. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to do it at a higher intensity, keeping it simple. There isn't like a magic movement that's going to make you a better athlete. You know what I mean? It's just doing the simple movements better than other people or at higher intensity.
So I would argue that you don't need high intensity. You just need consistency.
Right. All right. Yeah.
So
I mean, I think you need both. I think what I'm looking for is like if we have a workout, right? Say you and me are doing Fran 21:59 of pull-ups and thrusters. If I'm trying to be a competitive CrossFit athlete, I'm going to do Fran as fast as I can, right? If you're not necessarily worried about it, you're going to have maybe a more moderate intensity. We're doing the same workout, but my result is going to lead me towards my competitive goals, and your result is going to lead you towards like your maintenance goals. Even though it's the same workout, it's just how you approach the workout that's different. So what I'm saying is like everybody's looking for this unique new program to do. I think we get away from, it's not necessarily the like ins and outs of this crazy, amazing, like marketable program that's going to get you to, like, it's not going to work hard for you is what I'm trying to say.
So what Ben Bergeron talks about when he's talking about training with Katrin is that they do way less 21:59 as hard as you can, but they set goals. So if in Fran today, as long as you go unbroken on the thrusters, I don't care how you do. And it's in parentheses because you do care. There's still a standard, but like the idea is to do a piece better than you've done previously. So if there's a workout with muscle ups, your goal is to not drop off the muscle ups. So the intensity, and he's said this in his podcast a few times, like we can't go 100% all day, every day because Katrin would just explode.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
This is what I think.
That's why I started doing the low intensity. That's a good point.
Yeah.
This is what I think is the biggest piece that at least the CrossFit world misses. Because you were asking what he thinks the biggest piece. I think this is what the CrossFit world misses is the the intent of the exercise, because you could do Fran 100 different ways,
Yeah.
same
Right.
exact movements, but different approaches.
That's a good way
And
to
that's
say
what
that.
that's what you miss. We talked about this before,
Mhm.
like with bike sprints. You miss that with bike sprints because sometimes you want to do 20 seconds as hard as you can, but the typical CrossFitter wants to do 20 seconds as hard as they can and then take a 20-second rest and then try it again.
It's not
But it
feasible.
doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
But also with a 30-minute AMRAP, again, the typical CrossFitter wants to come out the first 5 minutes like blazing fat.
Water side.
And again, not quite
Did you say
feasible.
wad aside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
Copyright.
you could take those two examples and you could flip it and say, okay, well, maybe 20 on, 20 off on the bike as hard as you can isn't feasible, but maybe that's what we're going for today.
Yeah.
And I think
That's a good way. Yeah.
I don't want to discredit that because that's true, but I'm just saying the CrossFit bias is to do that more often than to do 20 on, 3 minutes off,
Mhm. I think going off of
I've
what
never
you're-
seen that program before. So what if you did Fran, but you had 60 seconds rest between rounds or 120 seconds rest between rounds?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've programmed that
Yeah.
exact workout.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I like that. The way that, like, one of those things that it was broken down to me is if you take, like, say you do 5 rounds of 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off, right? You're working for a 15-minute AMRAP essentially,
Yeah.
right? But you're breaking that 15-minute AMRAP into 3-minute segments. You're going to get more out of that. You're going to get more rounds done in that 3-minute segments in that break than if you were to do the 15 minutes straight
Right.
through.
But you got to 3 on, 3 off. It sounds like it's a sprint workout. It's a 3-minute AMRAP. And you could do it that way, and it would suck,
Yeah.
and you would, whatever. It'd be a good workout. But really, 3 on, 3 off for 5 rounds, that's more of an aerobic workout than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah,
And
you're
that's
well outside the phosphocreatine pathway even, and then you have the glycolytic
max
before
out.
that.
If you did a max out effort 3 minutes, and that would be anaerobic 100%, but that next round, you're not going to be ready for it again. You might be close, but not quite. And then the next round, not
Yeah.
quite. It's going to fade off. So it's really, you should do that more aerobically. Again,
So
you
would
could
you-
do it anaerobically.
It's
but,
goal-based.
Yeah, it's goal-based. Exactly.
Yeah, goal-based.
And I just think that in the CrossFit world, they miss this
Mhm.
analyzing how should I do this workout? Should I try to be aerobic today, even though it sounds like it should go fast?
Yeah. Something
know?
that I've like you say that, and I'm learning more because I'm doing some yoga teacher training also. And a lot of what they'll talk about is you have to teach to the moment. So like intent behind the workout, you have to take an honest inventory count of what your best effort's going to be today. It might actually only be 60% of your actual 100% best. But if that's what you're going to do today, then that's got to be okay.
Yeah.
And that goes back to having that body awareness of, what's your day-to-day operation.
That's why I think distance programming is so hard.
It is. Yeah.
So you have to have that really good communication between the two people.
When I program like Metcons for people, not all the time, but sometimes just I'll say at, 80% or do
Yeah.
this one at 90%.
And you let them judge what that is for that day.
Yeah, it works for some people, doesn't work for others.
I think if anything, it opens the window of
Yeah.
thought, right?
Yeah, and like if you have a 65-year-old woman you're trying to get her to do something at a high intensity, I might write 150% for her just because she
Right.
doesn't. You know what I'm saying? But
So what do you guys think about then? Because there are a lot of programs out there where it's like, like I use this again, not because I don't or I do like them or anything, but just Invictus is pretty well known. So you can pay $40 a month and get Invictus competitive programming or whatever the cost is, but it's very hands off as far as they go. So what's kind of the responsibility of them to deliver a good program and the responsibility of the person doing it to like take ownership of the results? You know what I'm
None.
saying?
None.
yeah, I don't think none
They
of
just
that.
they just want you to keep paying $40 a month. I mean, their programming may be literally the best programming in the whole world for
I've never seen
one
Invictus.
person.
I've never seen it either, but I just
No, but he's right. It'd be the best
Right.
program for just one person.
right. So would you say like you'd like to see that kind of stuff go away?
No, not at all. Because I love seeing what other people program.
Uh-huh.
Like I love.
Bergeron's is one of the best.
I have never felt so good at CrossFit than when I was doing his. When I did Outlaw for like 6 months, and I felt strong, but I was slow. or I felt slower.
Well, isn't Outlaws kind of a barbell program though, isn't it?
They
Like
have
they're-
different programs. They have like the cycle, the ollie, or the power, the ollie, and then just your standard program that he was like using for Tominski.
How do you feel about like if you were to look at a year of training for like a CrossFit Games athlete, you know? Obviously you have to take into account that like everybody has their own individual weaknesses and such, but like people will spend, in the off season, like I'm training Olympic weightlifting and then I get my lungs up 2 months before the open. Like,
so are we talking about an athlete who is guaranteed to qualify, or is like on the cusp, or someone who wants to qualify for the first?
We'll put a little risk in there. Put a little risk in there on the cusp. They might make it.
So periodization exists in every other sport. So why wouldn't it exist in CrossFit?
It does.
I agree.
At the high level, it does. It definitely does. But what you said, though, the 2 months out from the open, I'm going to get my lungs up, that's outdated. For the people who are on the cusp, that's outdated.
Yeah.
If you know you're going, you might say, I'm going to get my lungs up 2 months before the open. But what you mean is I've like already qualified because I'm Matt Frazier. And I can afford to have my lungs down.
Same thing with Rich. Like you never see him at 90% maximum output. So his 80 or 75 is literally better than everyone else in the whole world.
Exactly. So he can afford to have his lungs down.
Yeah, for him at 68, he just breathes a little harder and he destroys it.
That's just kind of how you're always operating in CrossFit, is you're trying to just be efficient, not trying to spike and drop, right?
In theory.
Yeah, but I think that's interesting because our sport, like the practice CrossFit is the same as to compete in CrossFit, as in like it's the same shit. Like football practice, yes, you're at football practice, but you're not playing a game every day.
So you and I think like that, but if you want your 41st client at your gym, she thinks you're playing the NFL in your gym.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. That's where CrossFit, it's a little bit different. So I think like periodization, whatnot, we lose track of it because every day is the same shit that you would do at regionals.
But it shouldn't. It should be, like you said, it should be like football practice.
Right.
Right. I agree with you. I think it needs to be practice.
Yeah, and football practice is way lower intensity
way different
than competition. Way lower.
Or sometimes it's just picking a piece of it and hammering that piece instead of, like you said, just do the thrusters unbroken today.
Yep.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, it's a win if you come out with just a small piece of success.
Right. Do you think that in CrossFit we're kind of evolving away from this, like, like you go in and you compete with people on the whiteboard and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff? Like that's like when it was first coming about, it was like, oh man, I get to compete every day in the gym. It's like, it's great. This awesome competition, blah, blah, blah. Like we're getting smarter with realizing that, we might have to take time to work on our own individual, like do the thrusters unbroken or this or that. So we're kind of evolving out of that compete every day mentality.
So what I first saw, the thing that I noticed when I stepped away, when I kind of like cleared myself of it a little bit, was that people in CrossFit can get so much tunnel vision that anything else is bad. And that's true for any really diehard fan of anything, and you have to take a step back first and say, hey, the NSCA does some things right, the ACSM does some things right, yoga, SoulCycle, Orange Theory, they're doing some things right. So
absolutely,
let's use what they're doing and incorporate it to see what we're doing. And the next thing is, I have worked with members who have been at a CrossFit gym for 5 years, and I bet you at least one of them has never Googled a CrossFit video. They may have watched the games or seen it, but they know that they can't do this at this intensity forever.
Right.
So they just leave because they're like, I'm not getting challenged, I'm not getting better, I just come every day, I'm friends with people here, but like it's not what it used to be. So I think it has to evolve, otherwise you're going to lose a bunch of clients to other high intensity functional training programs.
Yeah. I think you said it really well. Like people get tunnel vision, like, oh my God, like I'm diehard Bikram yoga. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool. You're going to be really flexible, but you probably can't pick up your grocery bag.
Maybe, probably.
Just the example, but I think you're right. I think I think we got to separate it a little bit. Like if you're sport specific, like I'm an Olympic weightlifter, then I have to have tunnel vision on Olympic weightlifting.
That's right. But you choose, and CrossFit has said that.
The everyday person should look for that well-rounded mentality.
That's why you should do jiu-jitsu, or you should play on your rec soccer league, or you should ride a bike, not stationary bike, and just ride it outside.
Yeah. Well, I think CrossFit, and we've talked about that, just if you look at the wording and the philosophy of CrossFit, it does encompass all of that.
Oh, for sure.
Of that. CrossFit, if you look at it, like how it is, it's functional movement performed at high intensity across broad time and modal domains. That's everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is Orange Theory. That is, that is yoga. That is weightlifting. That is CrossFit. That is everything. So like, we just generally escape from realizing that means doing everything. Like if you're just doing a 5x5 back squat today, like, you're doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
Because it
qualifies. It's part of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Or I'm going swimming today. Like, oh yeah, it's CrossFit.
I think the world-class fitness in 100 words is akin to the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
We follow these rules because they make sense, and it was written by someone really smart, and there's room for interpretation. So we have like the Supreme Court judge what is and is not okay on those terms, but you don't need the Supreme Court. Just are you getting fitter? Then keep doing it.
Yeah. I think so like you said, there's some members at the gym that have been there for 5 years, and eventually some of them may just, I'm not getting any better, so I'm going to go try that other thing out. I mean, you got 5 years out of them. That's pretty cool. And I think that's the nature for any sort of health and fitness model. Unless it changes, it's only going to make it so far. And that's not just for CrossFit. That's for Orange Theory too. You're going to have a member at Orange Theory for a few years, and then they're eventually going to say, I'm going to go try CrossFit because this Orange Theory thing isn't really working out anymore. So it goes both ways there, but it's there needs to become a facility or a new model where it adapts. And that could be the CrossFit gyms. Maybe they do decide to adapt, or it'll be something else, But I think any sort of approach is going to have that few-year lifetime for most people. And then they're just going to go try something else.
I think that comes from, because CrossFit is seemingly limited in, the movement. You know what I mean? There's only so many, all right, my goal is to do 30 pull-ups in a row. All right, well, the next goal is to do 40 in a row. It's kind of the same thing, where something like the two things that pop into my head are yoga and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You can always find somebody new to roll with in jiu-jitsu, always, and it's always going to be fresh and challenging.
Maybe
different coach, different programming style, different program period.
Sure, yeah. I think the retention rate with something like Orange Theory or CrossFit kind of floats on this, but I think it's just the fact that how do you keep something fresh when you've been doing it for so long? 5 years is about the time, like you said, of turnover. You know what I mean? Where, all right, maybe I'll try something new now. Is there a way to prevent that ceiling? Because that's what it feels like to me, is there's a ceiling on how long you can do kind of the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Over and over.
That's why you don't offer CrossFit. You offer fitness.
Yeah.
Or you are a fitness facility and you offer CrossFit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that CrossFit and fitness, like you said, are the same thing.
Well, it's like caps, capitals, proper noun.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So do we think then, obviously CrossFit is evolving, but since we all come from a very traditional, old school CrossFit place, you know what I mean? That model is not going to happen as much anymore.
I think we're young enough, and I don't want to say young, that's a bad way to put it, but we're willing to be humbled and look outside of our sphere and see what other people are doing better than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I took the OPEX certification.
Yeah, which I think is so cool.
Yeah. I didn't take it because I didn't believe in CrossFit. I didn't take it because I thought OPEX was the greatest thing on the face of the earth. I just knew that they were doing some things that I could do better. They were doing them better. So let me learn,
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. Continuing education in this has to be, just in the fitness field as a trainer, you have to take it seriously. You have to stay up to date, or at least be looking for new things to try and do.
Yeah, it's hard to say that you'd want your members to like try other programs, but you kind of want them to, because then they realize, well, like, hey, this is cool, but damn, Casey and Ty are amazing. They're just on a different level. This may be a good fitness program, but I get more out of my personal network of coaches than I get out of this program.
Yeah. That's why you got to offer it all, like we're saying.
Yeah.
Week.
Dude, I tell people at my gym all the time, because I'll get in that kind of conversation. Like, I'll say, hey, look, go try other shit. Like, go to a Zumba class, go to yoga class, go to a kickboxing class, go try it. Go, you know what I mean? And it's like, obviously it seems a little contradictory me telling my gym members to go try another gym. Like, I'm not bringing that up, but they'll ask me something or whatever. But it's like, for that reason, that, yo, you need to go and you need to be well-rounded. You need to try other shit. I'm not going to be able to give you everything that you need to be the best version of yourself.
So,
you know what I mean?
how do you have you thought about offering stuff to your members? So, like, for example, I listened to 321 Go podcast, and he built this big like this boot camp program, and he was like, women's only boot camp at my gym, awesome. And he said he dumped a bunch of money into it, and it was kind of like meh, barely broke even. But then he asked his members what they wanted, and the women wanted a women's only Olympic weightlifting program. And he was like, well, I never thought about that because I'm a guy and a gym owner and you're the client.
Right.
So
well, I think you have to have, I think for that, like, you did a good thing there where you're in communication. You got to give the people what they want. You know what I mean? As long as it's in line with what you want your gym to do. Because at the end of the day, you're the fucking owner of the gym, you know what I mean, or whatever. So, but I think, you know, you got to be able to, and I think that's where gyms are going. That's why you see a lot less, like, you know, CrossFit, blah, 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 or whatever. And it's more of like
blah fitness or blah fit.
Fitness or like, yeah, whatever, athletics or something like that, because they're getting away from that tunnel vision of we're a CrossFit gym, we do CrossFit, and CrossFit is, you know, is Fran as a Metcon. You know what I mean? Just as from the marketing perspective, you know. But I think, but yeah, if I can offer the most, like, my goal is to offer the most to my people as I can. But I just know, like, I'm not a kickboxing instructor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd love to offer a kickboxing class, but I just can't do that right now, you know? So that kind of stuff is just like the practicality of it. But in theory, I think, yeah, you have to be able to offer as many things as you want, you know, or as many things as you can.
Just something novel. I mean, you can't make all your members happy all the time.
No.
Well, you can't make them all happy, but I think there is risk with that, though, because it can get gimmicky. You know, like, if you look at, not discrediting, like, women's boot camps, but just because we have the example, there's plenty of women's boot camps out there that I'm like, yeah, don't fucking pay that. Don't pay for that. You know, and like stuff like that can get gimmicky, you know, to where it kind of loses purpose. So I think it has to just be, like I said, an honest evaluation of what you're going to allow your gym to, like, you know, be representative of, you know. So if you can figure a way to believe in whatever that is, then do whatever you want.
All right, so I'm going to change the topic here. So I'm going to put this one to you first, Ty. So you've been through the OPEX cert, you've done the NSCA, strength and conditioning coach, you've done the CrossFit level 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
So what makes someone go from zero to a coach? Or, like, what are steps that you think people miss if they want to be a CrossFit coach?
I think you said it in the beginning, like when we both started coaching 7 years ago, something like that. Yeah, cool. We didn't have any business doing that at the time. So I think experience, you just can't replace it. But I was actually thinking about this earlier a little bit. I was thinking about my undergrad degree in exercise science versus some of the certifications that are out there, like OPEX, right? And I was thinking, you know, with the undergrad, you go real deep into the science of the energy systems. You learn all the rate limiting steps. You learn how all the chemistry works so you can pass a test, right? You go real deep into the science with it. In the OPEX certification, you don't go into the science in that way, right? There's science, but not that deep. And but what you do learn is, okay, if you want to train the PC system, do this. If you want to train the anaerobic system, if you want to keep it alactic, do this. If you want to make it lactic, do this. If you want to train the aerobic systems, do this. So you learn the practical application. And you can be told what to do to an extent, and I think OPEX tells you what to do pretty well, but you just can't substitute for that experience that you get, not only with yourself over a few years, but also seeing how different people respond to things differently, you know? I think I don't know if there's a substitute for it.
So CrossFit and fitness is big enough now that I don't think you can get away with the kind of coaches or the same process that we took when we became coaches. I don't think you can just have someone in and then tell them that they can start coaching anymore.
No, maybe at like maybe a very new gym that's just opening up and they need somebody to help them or something like that. But these big gyms that have been around for a while, that have been around since like 2010 or something like that, yeah, they're probably going to be a little stricter with their hiring process. They're probably going to look for more on your resume.
Well, even people like Casey, if he wanted another coach, he can't just hire another coach that simply, just because people will sniff out bullshit. Like now I think we're good enough coaches that people have a standard, and if that standard is not met, they'll know.
Only the people we've worked with, though. You know?
Well, think about, like, if you were to open a gym, you wouldn't start out with 250 members with, like, a huge resume of excellent coaching. You start out with 1, 2, 5, 20. He said his gym is, like, 40 people. So when he needs to bring on another coach, he can't just, in good faith, say, I hope he'll get better.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that is kind of the process, though, for a lot of places. I think, you know, if you're a new member, if you're member 41, you don't know any different, right? As far as you're concerned, that dude has been there the whole time.
Unless you came from a different gym.
True.
So then let me rephrase. What is a mistake that you guys see new coaches or people who want to be coaches making, like a common error?
Were you talking about like hiring coaches
Yeah,
before?
yeah.
I do an internship. I do a 3-month at least shadowing.
Wow.
Yep. Months. Yep. And like, you know, it's pretty hands-on as far as for me. So I have one other coach in my gym right now. His name is John. He's phenomenal. But he shadowed classes for a solid, I want to say 2.5, maybe even 3 months, shadowed / like was only coaching while I was there and that kind of thing, before he was, you know, doing it all on his own. You know, I think it needs to be strict. But I think if you're trying to become a coach also, right, that was the question, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be, I think that's got to be the first step. You can't go 0 to 100 anymore. You know, you have to take your internship or you have to take your time to get your field experience and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's that experience that you just can't replace. But I think maybe new coaches, I think they just need to be open-minded. Just keep that in mind as you're going through. Just because you got certification X from organization Y doesn't mean that that's all that's out there, you know?
Yeah. I tell John, too, and we talk about it, I'm like, you know, go to other CrossFit gyms and learn from other coaches.
Right.
You know, because that's something that wasn't really told to me when I first started. It was like, you know, you're at this gym, and I'm going to teach you everything that you know.
Yeah.
You know? And I didn't really branch out as much in the beginning because of that. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think it needs to be recognized that, hey, man, I'm a fitness trainer. He's a fitness trainer. She's a fitness trainer. We all have the same goal, which is to help people. So why wouldn't you go learn from everybody?
I wish we could do a thing where your gym is close to my gym, so now we just trade coaches for a week. Or you come coach a couple of classes at my gym, so you get to meet my members. They get something different. They're like, oh, my God, who's that new guy? Who's that coach? You're like, oh, he's from a gym down the street. We're friends with them. You know some of their members. And it would be cool to just see what coaching is like from a different perspective.
Maybe like a once a week or once a month sort of thing.
Yeah, or like you come once, period. That would be enough to get people talking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do see that, though, when you do bring on a new coach.
There's a lot of hype.
There is a lot of hype.
Yeah, and I think that's really good for the gym. It's like it makes some buzz.
It does.
Yeah.
So
you probably get sick of me telling them what to do all the time. You know?
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm
Don't you just love it when that new coach tells them the
Same
exact same thing?
And they
Yes.
fucking nail it. Yeah. I will say though, one thing I'm learning through this, and this is probably more of just like an individual selfish thing, is that since it's only me, I'm learning to try and be more perceptive of saying the same thing in so many different ways. Like, because everybody responds, like you just said, to something different. So it has helped me to try to grow and try to be able to explain, the kipping pull-up in 20 different ways so that everybody can understand it. So like for my own personal development, it has definitely helped to do that.
And if
like
you have a drill for something, I want to steal it. I want to take it, and I'll give you credit, I guess. But why would I spend more time thinking about it if you have one already that works? I'm just gonna use it.
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel, man.
When you start coaching with people, a couple of you at the same gym, all coaching the classes or whatever.
Yeah.
You start to see like, oh, they're doing, Casey's thing over there, and they're doing Eddie's thing over there. They're doing Anthony's thing over there, like in the warm up. Oh, well, they're doing Anthony's shoulder thing that he taught us.
Hell yeah, I want to steal that.
Yeah, I think the big thing with that though is like for you, myself, and Ty, like we've accepted that I don't know everything. I think something to be addressed that we might address here is like, coaches need to realize or be okay with saying, hey, look, I don't know the answer to that question that you have, but I'll find out from somebody else. So like remaining humble as a coach is a big important thing too, that I think you only learn through experience. Like, because if you try to bullshit your way through something, tell somebody to do something and they hurt their shoulder, well, then it's your fucking fault.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I think that's a big thing that gets learned or developed also.
I mean, medicine's the same way.
What's that?
Medicine's the same way. So when a doctor tells me I don't know, I'm like, thank you for not just lying to my face.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I try to say that like all the time because a lot of times people do ask really specific questions about their body, and you're like, I never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Here's my best guess, but I don't know.
I think the thing is like too is like for us, like I can probably or you or we can probably make a better educated guess than maybe somebody else, but it's got to be also like, hey, I'm not sure. I think this is what it could be. If you go see the doctor, maybe ask them about this, give them something to look out for maybe. But yeah, I think that's a big thing is saying, I don't know, and like, dropping the ego a little bit.
I just don't know of any gatherings of coaches that happen on a semi-regular basis. And I think that would be really good because you guys could get together, all the CrossFit gyms, and then some Globo gym guys and some college kids and some personal trainers, and you just shoot the shit for like 2 hours. Like this week it's the CrossFit guys week to teach and test and answer questions, and then next week it's the guy who works with only like industrial workers.
Yeah.
Like how is
the head families?
It would be cool if they do that
meeting at the high table.
Yeah, and then you go to that person's place each week. That'd be.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do a 1 hour training session and then just from their method, and then you see what it's like.
I mean, that could be even a traveling thing.
Yeah.
Traveling circus.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, it's cool.
You get a lot of practical application out of stuff.
I just like to learn from people, and everyone knows something way better than me, so I wanna learn it from you because you can tell it to me better than I can read it from your blog or listen to you say it over a podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's good, man. I think the big thing that we're all kind of saying here is that people, like, we just got to keep ourselves open-minded and not necessarily, like, when new things come along, don't shoot them down, but also don't blow them up. You know what I mean? Take the goods and the bads and like, create, like, a filter for all that kind of stuff,
That's why I like oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, because I think a lot of stuff does come around that, like, people will act like they know a lot more than they do. And those people will be teaching people stuff, and you're like, fuck, all right, one of these guys again.
Yep.
So, like, there's almost got to be, I think there's an unspoken sort of, like, regulation amongst trainers of, like, all right, that guy's a quack, or, like, this guy probably knows what he's talking about, that kind of thing, Everybody's got the next best program, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like that puts everyone's on an island, or all the coaches are isolated from each other.
Well,
Yeah,
they're all in
yeah.
competition with each other, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I just don't like looking at it like competition, because if more people are working out, that's going to help both of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I
There's no
agree,
shortage
100%.
of, it's not like, you know, they say the market's saturated, but
No, I mean, maybe it is, but
maybe technically maybe it is, but like, what's the percentage of people in America, out of all people in America, who work out, you know, on a regular basis? Probably pretty low. So there's a lot more people out there to be tapped into,
Yeah, for sure.
you know?
For sure. Yeah, I think, you know, it's at what point do you think, like, how much responsibility do you as a coach hold when you're delivering programming to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Because of, like, there is a lot of
What type of programming? Is this like
just,
that?
like, I don't know, you know, we'll just call it fitness programming.
Because like
when
like
you're-
Ben Bergeron, I don't think he's responsible at all for what I do with his program.
Right.
You know,
right, you don't pay for it, you just read it and do it on your own.
I understand that it's a template and it's just out on the internet and I'm
Yeah.
just finding it and doing it, right? There's no responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, one of my clients, I think I have a lot of responsibility for that, yeah.
Yeah, like I kind of think about the person who maybe you're in a class, because when it's individualized or you're doing a personal training, you can kind of really break this down. But when you're in a class and say you have, you know, the classic example of, you know, you're telling somebody to flatten their back out on a deadlift and they just aren't doing it. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily like you can tell them until you're blue in the face and they're going to not do it, you know? At what point is it your responsibility to let them kind of test the waters a little bit and like, all right, they're getting it and they're not? Or do you jump in, you stop them and you're like, all right, you need to do personal training. You can't come to class, that kind of thing.
None of us have any kids, so I have no idea. Like, what would your mom say? Obviously, you try to do some stupid stuff, and your parents are like, okay, Case, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
You
that.
kind of got to figure it out on your own, like within reason though, right?
Within reason. It depends
Yeah.
on the individual who's doing that.
Yeah, I'm not letting my members do muscle up to handstand push up on the rings. I'm just not letting them do it. No, thank you. No, there's no need for you to do that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to go so far to prove to me that you know what you're doing for something like that. So the risk is high.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me, it's individualized. Like that person that's in the class
Yep.
doing that, I'm going to consider everything I know about this person and their history of working out.
Mhm.
Do I know a lot about that or don't I know a lot about that? And, you know, is this a college football player who tells me he's deadlifted 600 pounds before and we're doing 135 in the workout? Or is this somebody who's never picked up a weight in their life?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then also, how bad is it actually? Is it a complete, you know,
Yeah.
rounded back, or is it pretty damn close? And also, I'm going to, along the way, try to explain to them as much as I can why I would prefer them to do something else, you know?
Mhm.
So how do you
And
do
then-
new member intake?
So, okay, so for OPEX, because I don't do any new member intake anymore at a CrossFit gym, but for the OPEX thing, it's like a 3-day process. It's really a 2-day process, but kind of a 2.5-day process, we call. And the first day, it's basically just to sit down and talk for like 30, 45 minutes, maybe longer if it needs to. Sometimes that's it. Sometimes that's all it is, sit down and talk. If it's on the shorter end of that, maybe we'll do a little bit of physical stuff, but mostly just sit down and talk. Day 2 is it's an assessment, a physical assessment where we go through a bunch of different movements that we've picked to cover the whole body and see their biomechanics, along with 1 or 2 physical capacity tests on the rower. So we have like a 30 on, 30 off, for I think it's 3 or 4 minutes.
Is that
And
rated 0, 1, 2, 3 or positive,
so
negative?
the 30 on, 30 off.
Oh, the whole assessment.
Oh, okay, so we have like 4 or 5 different categories, we'll call it, of type of person. I think we call them non-functional, functional, high functional, and then sport. sport would be just like a CrossFit regionals competitor or higher, basically. But the other ones, we kind of categorize people as best as we can, because I don't know much about you when you first come in. I'm like, oh, this is a 17-year-old kid who plays baseball. We'll put him in the functional category, and we'll see how it goes from there. So we pick that category, and that has all the movements that we've deemed are appropriate for that category, and we just rate them and take notes. We actually write like, oh, a little shaky on the left side, or this can do it on that side, can't do it on this side, can only hold this position for 30 seconds when we think you should be able to hold that for at least a minute or something like that. So we go through all these movements there. And then the rowing is like an RPE sort of test. And then we also do a 2K row to hit that aerobic threshold as well.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, but again, it's all relative to the person.
Right.
I had a lady in the other day who I think she was 57. Like, I tell her to row 2K for time. She hasn't worked out in a year or something like that. She has a history of exercise, but just hasn't worked out in a year. And I know she's not going to get on there and almost kill herself rowing.
Right.
She was going at a nice aerobic pace. It took her something like 12 minutes or something. So
do you think that model should be adopted in CrossFit gyms?
Well, it's just do a more in-depth assessment. I think you can do that. Sure. Why not? It doesn't have to be that assessment. It doesn't have to be a 3-day process. It could be, what are foundations usually, like 4 days? Some gyms do I
do 3 days. I do 3 one-on-one personal training sessions.
Right. Yeah. That's the same thing. You're getting to see how somebody moves.
Exactly.
You're getting to see what they do.
So do you do that for free, or do you charge them personal training rate while you do your 3 sessions, Case?
Yeah. So I do personal training rate, but that covers your first month also. Yeah. So I try to knock the 3 sessions out in the first week.
Okay.
So it's $180 for the 3 personal training sessions and your first month, and then it kicks into your monthly membership.
That's cheap.
Yeah, that's basically what we
But
do
you
too.
can't. You're not allowed, or you don't go to class until you're done those 3 sessions, and we kind of set up a plan throughout and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's all just about getting to see this person and how they respond in a safe environment before you just start giving them stuff and throw them in the mix, you know?
But I will make that call. I don't put everybody through elements, kind of like what you're saying. I don't put everybody through it because I don't want to waste anybody's time either. Not that learning the basics or hearing the basics is a waste of time, but it's just that, say you have somebody who comes in and they were, like you said, a college football player. Like, they understand how to be out of breath and be uncomfortable and that kind of stuff. They've been around the weight room. So, some people will screw through like that. Totally.
And that person, I'm just going to try to fix their technique as best I can in class,
Yeah, you can fine-tune them in class if they have a
fine-tune them as best
solid enough background,
I think the PT model is really nice because it lets you get to know the patient really, or the client, not patient. Patient's medical, might be. But it lets you get to know the client in an intimate setting for a few sessions before you're like, all right, now you're one of 30 kids that I have to take care of at once.
And you can learn a lot about somebody even in just one session.
Right,
absolutely.
right.
You can say, oh, well, I'm not going to program this exercise for that person. I know
overhead
that.
Squat. Have them overhead squat with a PVC pipe, and then I pretty much know everything about you.
Yeah,
that's what the FMS has on it already.
Yeah.
And they even let you elevate your heel, and it still destroys people.
Yeah. I think the one-on-one session stuff has really helped a lot. I think it works really well as an intake process. Like some gyms will do like an on-ramp class, like Saturdays is our on-ramp class,
or they'll do like 2-week rotations.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's how we did it at Rock Solid.
Yeah, but I think I get the practicality of that and how you would come to that. I think the more effective way is to do the one-on-one sessions. But also, like I said, like I'm a smaller gym, so I can do that kind of stuff. I think that's kind of the catch-22 of being a bigger gym is, obviously the more members you get, the more money you make and that kind of shit. But, where's the threshold for quality and quantity?
Efficiency, yeah.
Efficiency.
Right. I like the 2-week
I like
idea.
it too.
I
think it's good. I think it works.
Like, it's not the worst thing in the world if somebody comes to you on Tuesday and you tell them, we want you to go through our on-ramp process. There's a week left of this one, so you you can start next Monday.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Sure.
not the worst thing in the world.
Sure.
Just yeah, maybe as a business you want people to get started right away, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think
it's all right.
there's ways around that though. I think you got to have at least something. You know, I
Yeah.
think you can start throwing people into class anymore.
Right.
You know, that's not good.
But it's an art form. Like everything we do is an art form. So there is that occasional person where you're like, all right, well, you can just jump into class.
Yeah.
You know,
Like you got to have some sort of program available or some sort of program in place for the people who don't qualify for that.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ghosting protocol. I think it's from John Gilson, the guy who did Again Faster. So you let people into the class, but they have an extra coach that's just with them. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah, so it puts them in the class environment so they see what all is going on. That might be a little intimidating, but this coach is like, hey, listen, he's been here for 6 years and he knows what he's doing. He did the same thing that you did. They practice. You know, they start out lifting a broomstick or a PVC pipe, and then after a certain amount of time, we work on it. So that way they still get the class feel without having, like, they don't come in feeling like you bait and switched them.
that's kind of how we would do it when we were coaching together. At
Yeah.
Explode.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when there was a drop in, or if there was a new person who, you know, they're coming in with a friend or something, they haven't done it before, we would always have two coaches in a class. So one coach would just kind of assume responsibility of that person as we're going through some of the more technical stuff. It did work well, but we didn't have it as like a protocol that we did, you know.
I mean, you did it without knowing you were doing it.
Right,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
But that was the system, yeah. And then I think the other thing to think about too is like having multiple coaches in a class is not overcoaching everybody. So I think something that's good, and like again, there wasn't really anything formal, I don't think, that we did, but like if I see Ty like on one end of the room, like all right, that's Ty's end of the room, and like I'll handle this end of the room, you know, or that kind of thing kind of happens also.
I can't imagine me coaching any number of people and needing another coach unless there was someone new. So
yeah, that makes a big difference.
Right. So if there's one person new in a class of 5, it's going to slow me down just as much as if it's one person new in a class of 35.
So yeah, I'll coach so I'd still coach in the mornings. And at that time, I am the only coach in the morning classes because they're typically on the smaller side, but sometimes they can get out of hand. But when a new person does come in, which has happened recently just because of the new year, you know, and yeah, it does slow you down. What I've started doing was almost not, it's a fine line, not like brushing them off, but also not giving them the full attention when we're doing group stuff. And then as soon as we break and I know everybody's good and they're going to set for whatever, I go over to that new person and I like, if I got to say, hey, forget everything we just did, we're not doing squat snatches today. You're not,
right.
Yeah, forget that. It's cool. We're going to do this instead. You know, I kind of try to handle it that way.
And it's so
follow along during warm up, but we're going to break off after all.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because then you're like, I have 5 weeks of stuff to get into your head in 30 seconds.
Well, at that point, you're just like, what are we doing today? Like, can I get them through today? You know?
I think that happens in the initial conversation. They walk in, hey, I want to try out class. Say, all right, great. First class, this is the workout for today. We're going to find modifications for you so you can run with this. And then they know before everything even starts, like, all right, I'm getting shit modified today and blah, blah, blah.
And the one process we had was if somebody came in new, if they showed up early enough, so 10, 15, even 5 minutes early, we would go over what they were going to be doing before the class even started, you know?
Take them over to the whiteboard.
And say, hey, the class is doing squat snatches, but have you ever done kettlebells? Let me show you that real quick. We're going to do some kettlebells today. Yeah. Or, you know?
So a gym out here that I'm really fond of, Arsenal, they're called Arsenal Strength and Conditioning or Arsenal Strength, and they have CrossFit. What?
Man.
Yeah, and they're like CrossFit 1812, I think.
Love that.
But on their website, when you say like you're interested, it takes you to a page with a no sweat intro. Like, oh, it's no sweat, no big deal, and you're not going to be sweating because we're just going to talk and get to know each other. And I think that's a really cool way to put it or set it up.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like as soon as you check into, well, I guess, I mean, that works, if someone goes onto the website and is like, I'm doing new,
Right.
you know? Yeah. But I think, no, that's a good idea.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess you always got to go back to too, like, all right, safety is first and foremost, like whatever you do today, I want you to love it here because I want you to join, but if you hate me because I made you safe, then maybe this isn't the gym for you.
Most people,
that kind of thing.
most people respect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's always that little bit of hesitancy when you're getting to know somebody,
I still think it's hard to, if someone comes in the door and they're like, hey, I want to do CrossFit, and I'm like, okay, but first you have to do 10 personal training sessions with me because at $70 a pop, because we have to make sure that you aren't going to die. Like there is a...
That can be a little
steep.
off-putting.
Yeah, it's a little steep.
Yeah, I agree.
Amount though, I decided, but yeah, I think
3 is a fair amount. Yeah, I do.
There's got to be something. Now, do you have a different mindset when somebody comes to you and they say, maybe they've been at the gym for a little bit and you know them or whatever, or maybe there's somebody new and they say, hey, look, I want to compete in CrossFit. I want to go to regionals. Like, what do you have a little intake that you go through in your head on that?
I'm like, how much do you sleep and how much do you drink? Let's start there. And then move forward.
I honestly don't. I don't do anything different for that person, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Unless they are coming to me, they've been doing it for 3 years, and they're coming to me specifically because they think I can help them in that capacity. Mm-hmm. But if it's just a new person who saw CrossFit for the first time and they're like, well, I want to get there one day.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing.
Oh, you're talking like a brand new person.
Well, go for both. So you have a brand new person who's like, yo, I've seen this shit on ESPN. I think I can be really good at it. I want to compete. Or you have somebody who's been in the gym. They're like, all right, they do a couple local things, but then they finally decide, all right, you know what, I'm getting pretty good. I want to make a run this year.
That's when I would start doing something different. But with that new person, I'm doing the same thing as for everybody else, unless they want to pay extra for personal training or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, all those guys have their own personal programming, or most of them do.
A lot of people, they all have coaches and shit now, huh? I think, I don't know. I always, when people come to me with that, I never want to tell somebody no, but definitely my bullshit meter gets a little bit more aware.
Whatever, man. They're just going to sign up and be members and work hard.
Yeah, I mean, I never tell anybody no. I would never say you couldn't do it or whatever. Yeah. But it's just when you're new to anything, you don't know what it actually takes or what you're capable of.
So
let's just see how it goes for a little bit,
So if they say, hey, I want to compete, do you have a little different conversation of, hey, look, I'll help you compete, but it's going to be different. You know what I mean?
No, I just tell.
Or do you?
What I would tell them if they said hey, I want to compete, I would just say to them, okay, well, we'll get you in here, sign you up, we'll get you in classes, and hey, man, if you want to do that one day, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, you could sell them on personal training or online programming right out of the gate, but you have to. I mean, I know you got to be honest. So hey, if you just do CrossFit for 6 months, you're gonna be able to do things you couldn't even imagine, and still not even be close to regional level.
Right.
Just the gap is so huge, you can't just walk into a baseball field and be like, all right, I think I want to play in the MLB.
Yeah.
Well, you need the basics first,
Right.
You need the basics first. And the basics are the same for everybody for the most part, So
that's always an interesting conversation because you learn a lot about the person who's telling you they want to compete and do more based off that conversation. Like, say, you give them your honest evaluation of, hey, look, man, you're doing really great, but if you want to compete, now you're not just in a relative field to yourself. You're competing against other people. So there's it's a different level of standard that you have to kind of work towards and base yourself off of. I'll be stoked for you to hit a 5-pound PR from a 205 snatch to a 210 snatch, but in relativity to the field, you got to get that up. And that's you can catch a lot based off that honest conversation that you have with somebody, I think, too. Of whether they're really committed for the long haul or if they're it was a goal that I would do if it kind of came my way easily.
So Rich Froning said that a training partner to him is more important than programming. So at what point would you say hey, you need to be going against someone consistently who's of the caliber of athlete you want to be, maybe you should try somewhere else.
From the beginning.
It's
the beginning, I'd say, well,
It's
I mean,
different
I
for
wouldn't
everybody,
necessarily
though.
say try somewhere else because I'd probably work out with them, or something like that. Like I have.
Well,
some
not
people-
every gym owner can make that offer.
Well, yeah. So I guess you just look to who's in your gym that could be relative, or maybe like what you were saying, you have a gym that's down the street that's competitive. You say, hey, why don't you go link up with those guys on the weekends? But I think at this point, you have to train with other people if you want to be competitive in CrossFit. I don't think that you have to do it all the time per se, but when you're just starting out, you kind of need to get thrown into the deep end a little bit, I believe.
I think it's different for everybody. For me, I love it. I would much rather have a training partner than a coach. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd probably pick a training partner who's at that level.
Versus a coach?
Yeah. I feel like I'm at my best when I do that.
I agree.
But there's people at the top who don't have training partners, who train primarily by themselves.
By a coach.
They have a coach. They have a coach.
Well,
I'm not even talking about Matt Frazier. I'm talking about Danielle Reed, who's from OPEX.
Yeah, she trains by herself.
Yeah, and she came in third at the games. So
that's impressive.
But she has a coach.
Yeah, I'd rather have a coach writing workouts for me than a training partner.
Yeah.
At least right now.
See, okay, so I'm speaking of this.
Well,
hold on. We're all three coaches. Yeah. We're all three coaches. So I'm speaking for myself. Like, I don't need somebody to write. If I had to pick a coach or a training partner, well, if Casey's going to be my training partner, we're both coaches. I think we can do decent. Okay. We can do some decent programming. Yeah.
Like if you're taking somebody who isn't a coach or a competitor, what do you think is more important?
Someone who isn't a coach.
In the beginning, a coach, yeah. But if you've been doing it for 4 years and now you came 100th in the Open last year and now you want to make a run at it, all right, maybe you need a training partner.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said. I guess, like you said, it's more individual because for me, like I was doing a lot of training on my own. And then when I went over to Explode and we were doing team trainings and the competition in the gym was very high level.
Yeah.
Like inherently being around better training partners
crazy
made me so much better.
100%. When I was at Villanova, we would lift weights, and this, with the football team, and I was just a strength and conditioning intern coach there, and I would do some of my workouts there when I couldn't do them anywhere else. So I would do like snatches and stuff, and I would be snatching more than they would, right? All of these big guys and whatnot, and everybody would ask me like, "Yo, how are you snatching that?" And I would tell them like, "You don't understand. I have no choice but to be able to snatch that."
Yeah.
Because when I leave here and go to the gym that I work at, this dude snatches 315.
Right.
Okay, this guy next to me here. Like I have no choice but to be snatching like, something high,
Yeah.
And if I was training by myself, I probably would have never gotten anywhere near, 275, never close to that. But I have no choice because I have to deal with this,
That.
So I think training partner is huge.
Yeah.
It makes me get outside of, my program says I should hit 175 for 3 triples today, but he's doing 3 triples at 265. Maybe I'll try more. More.
I think that's good.
Well, I mean, that's the difference between having someone writing your programming who's really good versus someone who's not. So you could get that same level of competition because Coach Johnny tells you need to snatch more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe.
I mean, do you think? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it just pushes you the extra 5 pounds, which may not make the difference in 1 year, but maybe in 5 years it would.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Do you think though? I think for some athletes it can go the opposite effect. Like if you're training with people, say you're a brilliant athlete, and you're training with training partners who might not be at your level, or if they're a little bit above you, like you're looking at that as like, that's the pinnacle, that's the ceiling, that's what I need to get to. Maybe if you're training by yourself and you don't have a lot to compare to in the outside world, well, then your ceiling is whatever you make it.
Yeah, you go further.
With almost like ignorance is bliss in a way.
It's that dude who's out in the woods chopping down trees right now doesn't even realize he's the fittest person on the planet.
Yeah, has no idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for that as well.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I mean, you have to know the athletes. So like, I'm not as strong as you because you're 4 inches taller than me and 60 pounds heavier than me. So I have to take my. I don't know. How tall are you?
No, just watch my weight. You know what I mean?
How much do you weigh?
I'm kidding, bro.
I'm calling you out, Case.
I'm 235.
Yeah, you're like 100 pounds more than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I don't need to get any faster at muscle ups. I need to fucking bear down and eat ice cream and pizza until I weigh 150. Like, no training partner is, unless you're like, eat it, and you're like shoving Doritos down my throat. So like, the challenges are different. Yeah, so you got to get faster. 315 is definitely above what is necessary.
Yeah. You've learned that through having training partners, right?
But this is what I think is different for this is why I think it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Is because it can't. For me, again, it's just for me. I would pick the training partner because I feel comfortable enough that I could program for myself because that's what I've been doing. And if I had a good training partner to push me, then
Right.
I feel like I operate better than in that setting. Also, it's more of like a you and your homie getting together and you're training and working out. And it's a little less structured and that kind of stuff. I feel like I pull a little more out of that, just in like overall like mental, well-being also.
Or if you're Dan Bailey and you just work out with Rich all the time and Rich always beats you, then you just learn to let Rich beat you, man.
True.
That's true.
Also
you're just
true.
constantly losing.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Well, that's why you got to change it up.
Right.
Like even I've worked out with Ty a billion times, so I know what Ty's going to beat me on, and I have a good idea of what I can beat Ty on.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to train. You got to train with other people.
Yeah, but when we go out the door on that last 400 meters,
it could be
and
anybody.
you're like 15 yards ahead of me. You're like, I'm gonna beat Ty on this running workout.
Yeah.
And you start picking it up.
Yeah,
Those
little things do happen. Those little challenges do happen.
Yeah.
That's why it's so fun. I'm just like smiling thinking about chasing somebody down.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
And if we're doing like that squat clean workout in the open, and like for some strange miracle I'm ahead of him, I'm like, oh shit. Well, fuck, I better keep going.
I know. You can't slow down.
If I can take him on this one, let's do it.
My hands are literally bleeding everywhere, but I am not stopping.
Worth it.
Totally worth it.
So like it goes both ways.
Yeah, I don't know if you can pull that intensity from having a coach just watch you versus
no, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I think so.
But if your training partner, if you're starting out and you're brand new and you've never done this stuff and you decide to go with training partners who don't know how to also coach you at the same time,
that's good.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's not going to work out so well.
It's hard working out with your friends who want to work out with you because they're your friends, but like, hey, I got to get to work and I have to teach you how to snatch and I have to do my snatches.
Yeah.
Like it's hard hitting 80% on a snatch often. 90% even harder. Like I can't sit here and be like, no man, you got to pull your elbows back and just do this and do these drills and then I'm cold.
Yeah, and then your work is done. Yeah, that's tough. I run into that a lot at my gym. Is like I'll get into something, and since I'm pretty much it's me and my other coach John. Like if anybody comes in the door, it's like
I know.
All right,
I've never just
I'll
gone
hit this
to a
lift
gym.
in 10 minutes. I've never just belonged to a gym. I think that's something that I love about jiu-jitsu too. Is like I'm just a member.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about anything.
I don't do shit. I pay you guys. I come in and you know what I mean. It's pretty cool.
You could be the speaker who just sits down and doesn't say anything.
Yeah, I'm just that guy.
I saw Brian coaching some other gym owners before. I mean, I don't know if they want to be called out by name, but it makes so much sense to just like be a member at the gym down the street.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I think that's a lot of people need to swallow the ego to be able to do that. But it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
So refreshing.
A good friend of mine started CrossFit because he couldn't work out at his gym anymore because of that happening.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a CrossFit gym, but he was like, dude, I can't work out. Like people just bug me and my phone rings and like the business phone rings and there's emails. And now you get your email on like a watch. So like you can't get away from it.
You can't run away from any of that shit. But yeah, I agree, man. There's something to be said for just being able to like be another member.
Yeah. I would like to just be a member at a gym, actually.
It's the life we ask for, Like when you walk into a gym and you're the person who's helping everybody, that's just kind of how that goes, But I agree, man. You gotta get a break.
I like going into like an LA or a Planet sometimes, and you're like working on something, and some guy's like, "Hey man, you need a hand?" I'm like, "No, just I appreciate you, but just leave me alone."
Dude, I just like, we got like a family membership. Like I'm on a membership to the YMCA.
Yeah.
And I'm so stoked to go work out there.
Can you bring guests?
Yeah, dude.
Let's get in the hot tub.
Get in the sauna.
Yes.
Woo! It's all. But yeah, I'm like so excited to go work out there. Like nobody knows who I am. So just go work out. Nobody's gonna ask me shit. You just fucking do a bunch of bicep curls and have a good day.
Dude,
sounds like a plan.
I know.
Yeah.
And you can swim inside, and it's warm.
Yeah, it's pretty legit.
You could play basketball.
But yeah, there's good and bad though. I will say I do like being the guy that is able to answer a lot of the questions that are thrown out.
You know, if you go and sign up at a CrossFit gym, like you pick up weights, you move to a new gym, you're gonna be there for like a month and loving it just as a member, and you're gonna just all of a sudden out of nowhere start coaching people.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will.
Yeah, you try this,
dude. I was okay.
True.
You asked about that competition that my brother did. You asked, right, Ann?
Yeah.
And I did it too. There was an RX and a scale division. And I ended up coaching these athletes in between heats on how to do movements that were coming up because they hadn't done them before. So these two, the two guys that I was helping, they do it on I think they're in the military. I can't remember which branch, but they do it at their base all the time, and they never had like a gym or a coach. So I was coaching them in between.
Awesome.
Like I'm about to go up against them, and I'm coaching them on it.
I love that. See, that's the old school. That's the old school.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't see that nowadays in like regionals and stuff. Like I used to go to regionals back in like 2012 or 13, and you'd be in the warm-up area, and everybody'd be like, "Yo, what's your strategy? What are you doing here? What are you doing there?" It's not like that now, man.
Yeah.
It's way different.
I don't know. The videos of the top-level guys are like that.
Yeah, I was just at a local competition, and these dudes are in the military. I should probably show them.
I think that's
respect,
how it should be, dude. I think that's how it should be, man. Like yeah, of course I'll help you. Of course,
That's why I'm happy I'm a guy. Girls definitely struggle. I feel like I couldn't talk to any girl I've ever been in a competition with the same. Like I can't joke around because they're like, "All right, we gotta focus. Don't talk to me."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how your brain works. This is awful. We're both gonna end up crying. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Dude, dudes definitely don't take it as seriously for the most part.
I think at regionals when you're on a team, dude, I think it was the last workout or something. Like it was like one person went through everything. It was like a conga line. We were standing on the pad like bullshitting during the whole workout.
Not even talking about the workout.
Not talking about like meandering around like, oh, it's my turn yet? No, all right, well, yeah, it's just messing around, man. Yeah.
At that point, the work's done.
I love that.
But that's like at that point, there's nothing else you could do to make you better.
Yeah, just have a good time.
Yes,
man.
enjoy it, and that's what I feel like is lost on these local comps. Sometimes you send a member and they're like, "Oh God, I did terrible. Like I hate myself." I'm like, yeah,
you did it.
Yeah, let's go have a couple drinks afterwards and eat some burgers and fries.
Awesome, dude! You killed it today.
Yeah, you went out and you did it.
Competition. You put yourself out there. You're vulnerable.
Who cares what place you came in?
Yeah. Or how you did. Like, even if you're like, oh, I only did 70% of what I expected, or I missed my 1 rep max.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Still alive.
That's what I actually try to tell my members and clients. Like, there was this girl who was trying to get a muscle up the other day, and she's been working on it for a while. She's not my client, but I was just there. And I told her, I was like, hey, I don't want to sound mean, but, like, none of us care if you can do a muscle up. Like, if you want to get one, we're going to help you as best we can. But we also don't really care if you decide that you don't ever want to do muscle ups. Like, doesn't mean anything to us. You're not trying to prove anything to us,
You're still a good person.
Yeah, we'll be happy for you when you get it, but if you don't, doesn't mean anything to us.
Did that turn out okay?
Well, she still hasn't gotten one. She's still working on it. But the point is, she felt like there was so much pressure to get it, like that, that we were going to think less of her if she couldn't do it.
You're disappointed.
She's not good enough or whatever. Like, just trying to help you because you want help. We don't think you need to be able to do a muscle up to be a cool person, So that's what I try to tell people. Like, you want to go to regionals, cool, I'll help you. But I also like, if you come up short, I'm not going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. I think it's those little things. It's just the little conversations, the little things that you can talk to people about and say, like exactly Ty just said, look, I'm going to like you either way. I'm going to help you, and I'm going to trust that you're giving your best effort here. So that's all we can do. And that's just, you know what I mean? You can only, like, I have that conversation all the time with some, at my gym is like, yo, or at the rehab. This is like, come back to the rehab. I have the conversation with, yo, you're here for yourself. You can only control yourself. So just do what's going to work for you and do what you want to do. And that's all. That's it. That's the real comparison. You know what I mean? Is like, are you better than yourself? And obviously, if you want to compete, you got to be better than other people and all that kind of shit. But, you can't set an unrealistic expectation for yourself either.
We just had a member who's been there for 5 years, and she was even coaching. She's been coaching for a while too, but she just got her first muscle up like last week, like Friday. And I was like, this is why I keep working and grinding, and we like talk about it, because you keep practicing a little bit, and then bam, you get it. And it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. I love seeing people hit fucking PRs and shit. Oh, dude, that jacks me up.
It is cool.
It really does. We just finished, like I said, our strength cycle. So the last week was 5-3-1. So people were hitting some PRs on deadlifts and squats and benches and stuff. And man, it was like heaven, dude. I was so stoked coming out of every class. I was like, yeah, we got another one, man. And it's like, it's the coolest thing, man. Everybody feels good about it. Everybody walks out of the gym stoked, Everybody's excited to come back.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Excited to come back. That's what I want for anyone who comes into a facility. Just like, you shouldn't want to be like, oh God, I have to go to the gym. If you think like that, you need to stop going. You need to do something else.
Something else.
I like you. I like that you did CrossFit. That's cool. But I don't want you to hate what you're doing. So
yeah,
do a Spartan or do Zumba. I've never done Zumba. It'd probably destroy me just like boxing for you guys.
They get it in there, dude.
Does that thing still exist?
You ever seen
Does
Zumba class?
still exist?
Yeah. Dude, you ever seen a Zumba class?
No. I actually have no idea what they do in there.
Get after it. The old CrossFit gym that I used to work at shared a building with a Zumba studio, was on the second floor. And they're up there dancing all for an hour and running around yelling, ah, woo, and the music's crazy. And it's nuts, dude. And they all come out of there drenched in sweat and loving it. And they get it in there, man. I'm telling you.
I believe you 100%.
There was actually a video I saw of, it was a documentary on, I think it was called Champs on Netflix. And Evander Holyfield is in a Zumba class in his off season.
Nice.
He's like doing dance class next to like, these older ladies. And one lady's like, oh, I really like your shirt. And like, no one really knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's just, it's like, he's a great guy.
He just wants to be a member at a gym.
Yeah, he's just dancing in Zumba class, man. But he's the, heavyweight champ. The baddest dude out there.
All right, so the last thing I wanted to bring up, and I know, Ty, you've had an injury, and Casey, I don't know if you've had an injury. So you hurt your back, right, Ty?
Yes, I did. Yeah, many times.
Many times. So the research that I've been reading says shoulder and spinal injuries are the most prevalent, which to me makes sense.
Yeah, are you talking about with CrossFit?
Yeah, with CrossFit specific, CrossFit uppercase CrossFit training, shoulder and spine are the most. Can you
spine or lower back?
They said spine, but I'm sure my guess would be lower back. But I don't want to guess when it comes to research. But like how did it happen, and like what did you do to get back to training, or like how did that affect you?
So I've hurt my back. Like I've always had back problems. Even in high school, I've had back problems. Like I threw my back out a few times bending over to get a frozen pizza out of the freezer one time in high school, and I was out for like 3 days.
God did not want you to have that pizza. That pizza's bad for you.
Apparently. So like, I've always had something up with my back. So to say it was CrossFit or whatever is, maybe true, maybe not true. But I have heard it, I would say, twice in the gym. One time years ago, I heard it doing something, can't remember, but I was only out for like a couple weeks. But then more recently, I was deadlifting. This was in 2016. I was deadlifting, and I hurt my back deadlifting. And that put me out for like 4 or 5 months. That was pretty bad. As soon as I heard it, I was in my garage. It was July 4th. I hurt my back on like rep number 6, dropped the bar. I knew what was going on because it's happened before, and I was like, fuck. So immediately it dropped down, and I started doing push-ups. So I was like, fuck it, man. I can't do anything else, can't deadlift, so I got to do some push-ups.
That's awesome.
So I never stopped working out. I just did what I could do.
Yeah.
So, because before I had tried to just do nothing, and I hate doing nothing. So I would bike, and I would do push-ups, and I would do chin-ups, and everything that I could do. Never stopped. But in the interim, I would try to roll it out as best I could. I went to a chiropractor who took like an x-ray and cracked me a couple times. I don't think it did anything. Went to another chiropractor who tried to convince me that the issue was my upper back and popped something back up there and that I'd be good in a day or two. But I knew that was bullshit.
I know who that was.
Yeah, I think you do. So I didn't. Those are the only two like professional opinions I tried to get on anything. I had done an internship at a PT clinic years ago, so I did all my PT exercises that I thought might help. But honestly, dude, just time. Like, I can give you an answer that you're not going to be happy with. I was at the shooting range. This was a few months after, and I was still in a lot of pain, and I was at the shooting range. And I can't remember what gun I was shooting, but I shot it, and I felt like something in my back because I wasn't braced, you know, and the recoil just like tweaked it again, and I was so pissed off. So I just like put the gun down, and I went onto my hands, put it on my knees, and I just bent over for a few seconds, and like, dude, a minute later, pain was fucking gone.
Oh my gosh.
That was it?
Yeah. Dude,
Just
like
knocked you back into place.
knocked me back and whatever it was. And I wouldn't say I was at 100% after that, but I was pretty damn close. Like, I was able to move without a whole lot of pain. It was significant. It was a significant change. And then I just had to rehab and slowly ramp up myself back in the gym over the next few months after that. So I didn't just jump back into training, but I was like, what just happened?
So what gun? I need to know, what gun were you shooting? And you're right-handed, I assume?
Yeah, but I can't remember. It was either. Dude, I think it was my
something on a shoulder.
No, I think it was my 9mm.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Can't remember though.
New prescription for back pain is buy 9.
Go to the gun range.
Telling you.
That's pretty crazy, man.
So you basically did a chiropractic adjustment on yourself with a gun.
What it seemed like, yeah. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah. I love it.
So yeah, that probably doesn't really help anybody. So, but that's
never
what
really
happened.
Figured out what was going on back there.
No.
So what?
Moved out of place.
Something moved out, and something, for the record, something is still out of place. My hips are definitely not the way they should be.
So what stopped you from going to see a physician or getting an X-ray or an MRI from like a sports med doctor instead of a chiropractor?
Just like the hoops you have to jump through. Like, I don't know anybody other than my primary care physician, and I had gone to her years ago for something else. And just trying to get an MRI was like a pain in the ass. And I didn't feel like going to somebody who's going to tell me to do PT for 12 weeks before I can even move on to the next step. So I just did my PT myself.
Right.
Because, you know, and I don't know anybody who was like a specialist or anything like that personally. So, yeah, I know. Doesn't help anybody. But... that's what happened. That's the story of what happened, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
At least that's what he's telling us, Case.
Yeah, exactly. He's shooting like Mexican steroids directly into his spine or something. You know? He's got the strongest lower back you've ever seen.
What about you? You ever get hurt lifting?
Yeah, I had a back injury, man.
Yeah.
I injured my back. So we went to regionals, or no, was this, I think when was this? Was this after we went as a team, Ty, or was this?
I think
I think it might have been after a team because we were at the new gym.
then it had to be, yeah.
I think it was after that. And so
Had to be,
anyway,
yeah.
I had just come off regionals. I didn't really take a deload and was training and was dehydrated for sure. And I remember, I don't remember what the workouts were, but I just finished like, one or two like things. Like one of them was running 800s. And so we had this hill that we were running up. And so a lot of, hamstring engagement and posterior, I was tired back there. And so I decided to do some heavy back squats. And I got up and, I was just, like I said, dehydrated. So things weren't really activating the way or like working properly, whatever. And I went down on a back squat and I had too much of like a curve in my lower back. Like I overextended rather than being in that flat position. I was too hyperextended in my lower back. And I just took all the compression from the back squat right into my lower back, right in my, I guess it was my, I don't know, like right around my sacrum or whatever.
Those are words.
So that,
yeah.
What's that?
Nothing. Go ahead. God.
Oh yeah. So that kind of like, that shot some things and compressed and shot some discs and whatnot anteriorly. And so moving and forward bending and whatnot was kind of tough for me. So I went to a chiropractor that I had known for a long time and he cracked me up and took pretty good care of me. And then sort of the same thing, just time. Like I spent the first like a month, I was like, all right, I'll give it a month and like take it easy. Still worked out, but it just kept getting worse and worse. And so I was like, all right, now I need to really take off. Because like I didn't wear socks for like 4 months, bro, because I couldn't reach my toes to put socks.
Oh,
I believe that.
It's like, seriously, dude, that's how it was. And so I was like, all right, time to take it serious. So I took like probably 3 months where I didn't do shit. I just did very light yoga, just practicing, like honestly, just practicing sitting on the floor and like trying not to be in pain and breathing and like learning posture and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually it just built up to where I was doing, like PVC pipe good mornings as far as I could and, working on some of that kind of stuff. And then, like Ty said, just from there, just ramping it up as I could progress. So it was probably like a good 7-month process to where I was really back to 100%.
wow.
Yeah, that's about how long.
But that's all, I just saw a chiropractor and I just PT'd it myself. Reverse hypers, dude. I did a lot of reverse hypers.
I still do a lot of
Yeah,
reverse hypers.
that's probably one of the best things that I did that helped my back was all that reverse hyper machine. Yeah.
I would say there's two things that are important when dealing with an injury. Is one is just like your mental state as you're going through it.
That's a fake it till you make it, I think.
Well, not just that, but like you have to be positive. Exactly. You can't be down on yourself and worried that you're never going to get back or whatever. Like you have to just say, I'm not going to let this thing stop me. It's got me now, right? I'm not going to go back and deadlift again, right? That's stupid. But I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to be as the best version I can be. And when I'm healed up, I'm going to I'm going to try again, right?
So
optimistic. You have to be.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is when you do start back up again, you have to try to learn from your mistake. Like in hindsight, I know that morning before I deadlifted, my back was feeling tight. I didn't think anything of it because it feels tight a lot sometimes, right? But it was feeling tight. And then I decided to go for my heavy day on Wendler without even warming up, just like getting right into some sets, right? That's not smart. So you have to learn from your mistake. Just the other day, yesterday, I was in the gym lifting, and I did a good weight there. I was happy. And then I go ahead and I was going to do my Metcon, which had some squats in it. But I noticed as I was breaking the bar down, I noticed my back was like just not exactly 100%. I was like, this feels a little off. And I was getting ready to do my Metcon with these squats in it. And then I took the weight off the bar and decided not to do that. So I was like, I'd rather feel good tomorrow than prove to myself that I could do a Metcon and be out for 4 days,
Yeah,
So
I
like,
agree with you there.
you got to learn from that.
I think it's like you said, taking the honest assessment and accepting, like, all right, I have this injury, like, plans changed, you know what I mean? But I'm just going to do the best with what I can, and then just taking the smallest steps possible.
That's with anything in life,
know?
dude.
That's anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about it, like, injuries are only going to get worse if you don't let them get better. You know what I mean? So if you're always trying to go further than you should be, you know what I mean? Pulling the reins back. I tell anybody, give yourself one more week than you think you need.
Exactly.
Give
Yeah.
yourself one more week than you think you need to really let that shit settle down. You know?
The most dangerous day in the gym is the first day you feel 100% again.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it's on. I'm back.
Yeah.
Out again for
No.
another 5 months.
No, take another
Yeah,
week
take
from
another
there.
week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So have you
Yeah.
changed your practice from that injury at all?
Yeah, I would like to think that I'm a little bit smarter. Yeah.
Mhm.
I do listen to myself way more, dude. Like currently I'm doing a squat program that has a ton of squats in it. Like it's like sets of 15, like multiple sets. Yeah, and it's like twice a week. And I make sure that is all of the squatting I'm doing in the week. I'm not doing like, let me hit all these squats here, and then let me do this Metcon that has thrusters at 135, you know? Like maybe if it's 75 pounds, I'll do some squats, but you know, I'm not going heavy with squats anywhere else, right? I'm not taxing that my knee will blow out or something, you know? I'm going to keep it under control when I'm not in a high intensity, like fatigue state. So I like to think that I'm a little bit smarter about how I program for myself. Yeah. And listen to my body better.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I started taking more seriously the small joint stuff, like the low intensity days. You know,
Low
the
intensity days,
the functional movement days that
Yeah.
I'm doing. I started there's a lot more serious and doing that a lot more. You know, and get my cardio work on like a bike or a rower or a run, where like you're really not going to hurt yourself on a bike. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
yeah.
you'll be all right, but you still get the same purpose as far as, you know, cardiovascular endurance is concerned.
Yeah,
You know, so stuff like that I think is the big one for me.
I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, you know, a lot of it is just like it's that patience game. Just being patient, man.
Yeah, I mean, I want to lift until I'm like the day I die, really. That'd be cool to finish up a squat session on that day and then just be like, you know what?
And die.
You know, I'm good. I'm good.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm the same way. So I want that longevity out of it. I gotta be.
Yeah.
We said it earlier. You start to realize you can't do this at that intensity forever. You know, you got to play the long game.
Mhm.
So yeah, you got to be a little more patient. Embrace those low intensity days.
Yeah.
Listen to your body. Make
Especially
adjustments.
rest days.
Rest days.
That's
yeah.
a big one, man.
That is a huge one.
That's a big one. I have that conversation. Like people ask, you know, when they come to the gym, how many days should I be coming? I say, all right, you know, you're just starting out. Say this is like a brand new member. I say you need every 2 days you need a rest day. So like 2 on 1 off, or I'll say, you know, 3 days a week, never more than 2 days in a row. Whatever the pattern is, it's always like rest days are way more important than we might think.
Yeah.
You know. That's where all the adaptation happens, right?
Yeah, that's what people don't get. I can just keep grinding until I turn to dust. Like, you have to give your body time to recover. That's what steroids do. They don't make you stronger. They just make you recover better.
Yeah, unless you're sleeping 12 hours a night, I don't think you're fully recovered from the day's work, you know?
12 is a lot.
It's a lot, but, you know.
Sounds.
Yeah, I remember.
I could pull 12 hours a night if I was able to.
I couldn't.
If my work would allow me. Hell yeah.
No, I couldn't. Not at all. But I remember listening to a video of Rich back when he was still individual, talking about how he sleeps 10 hours every night and doesn't wake up to an alarm or anything like that. So when you talk about steroids, you know, they're probably in CrossFit. But at the same time, like, dude's life is very low stress. Sleeps 10 hours a day.
Well, yeah.
I could buy it. I could buy that he's not on steroids. I could definitely buy that.
Yeah.
If looking at his life and how it's set up and there's like so low stress there, I could buy that.
I think he said that he even sleeps in a bed by himself in a separate bedroom that's just pitch black.
I don't know. That's pretty cool.
I believe it. If you don't wake up to an alarm, you're only waking up when your body is essentially ready to wake up.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'd probably never wake up. I'd probably be dead. You'd find me
No,
dead.
he's not dead. He's just asleep.
That's the last time we ever saw Casey.
He was asleep for 3 days.
He turned his alarm off and he's done.
No, he's not in a coma either. He's just asleep.
Yeah, you can hear him snoring over there.
Blankets all cuddled up to his face and he's rolled over.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to finish up. I got to get going, and we got to watch these Eagles play some football soon.
Yeah, man. Sounds good.
I'm so excited, bro.
Well, I really appreciate it again, and we can definitely
this is
keep
awesome.
doing this on a regular schedule if you guys are interested.
Yeah, I'm in.
Very interested. Yeah, thanks, Ant. Appreciate it, bro.
All right, man. I'll see you guys later.
All right, brother.
Peace out.
Did you hear
Yeah, I heard that. That's going in the final cut.
As it's lining up, we just started making out. Like, oh shit, can he see us?
All right, see you guys.
See
you, Ant.
bro.
You made it. Don't forget to check out the links in the show notes at bodbyanth.com/Casey and Ty. Thanks for listening.